Chapter 807. The elders of the Huang family were all dumbstruck. They couldn't believe what had just happened. Their family's expert had been cut in half by a young man. They couldn't accept it at all. Now, many of the elders were regretting. What kind of demon had they provoked to be so powerful? The elder in black armor felt his scalp go numb. At this moment, he was being stared at by Lin Xian, and his whole body trembled. Although the armor was a top spiritual rank artifact, it couldn't withstand the shocking killing intent. He was like a small boat in a sea of blood that could be overturned by a huge wave at any time. This feeling was too terrifying and too powerless. He didn't feel this way even when facing the family's experts and the venerable from Sanchong village. Stop. Don't fight. Don't fight. The elder in black armor shouted loudly. He was really scared. His companion's strength was similar to his, and he also had a top spiritual rank artifact. However, he was still cut in half by the young man. This scene deeply stimulated him. He knew that the young man in front of him couldn't be judged by common sense. This matter is our Huang family's disciples' fault. I'll go back and teach them a lesson. The grudge between us is over, the elder in black armor said quickly. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect the powerful Huang family to admit defeat. Stop fighting, Lin Xian sneered. Stop fighting? You brought a group of people to kill me? Stop fighting? 6 of you besieged me? Stop fighting? You used top-rank artifacts to kill me? Now that you can't beat me and say stop fighting, I want to know if I can beat you and say stop, will you hold back? Lin Xian's lips curled into a mocking smile. The killing intent in his eyes grew stronger. If I can't beat you, I'm afraid I'll be killed by you mercilessly. Now that you're telling me to stop fighting, do you think I'll let you go? Lin Xian didn't hesitate and quickly slashed down with his sword. Kid, you're courting death. Don't be so shameless. The elder in black armor was furious. He had already lowered his stance, but Lin Xian still wanted to attack. He didn't put them in his eyes at all. The funny thing was they were the ones who chased after Lin Xian first. Now that they couldn't beat him in the middle of the fight, they wanted to stop. How could it be so easy? Block it for me, the black-armored boss shouted, and the black armor on his body bloomed with a black light. An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the black-armored elder was sent flying, coughing up blood. However, he did not suffer any external injuries. The sword chi was blocked. Ha ha ha! I have a spirit-grade battle armor. Even if you have a sword of the same grade, it will be difficult to break through my defense. In other words, you can't kill me. Lin Xian scoffed. People like you don't need to exist in this world. She held the killing sword in her hand and walked forward step by step. It's useless. You can't break my defense. The elder in black armor sneered disdainfully. Can't break your defense? You're thinking too much. Lin Xian quickly swung his sword. The killing sword hummed and enlarged in the air. It was 100 feet long like a mountain ridge. Lin Xian held it in his hand and slashed it down quickly. The sword was extremely fierce and powerful. It was as if it could cut the sky open. Boom. The terrifying attack landed on the elder in black armor and sent him flying. The elder flew backward and spat out blood. Although the black armor was extremely hard and could defend against swords and sabers, the powerful impact went through the armor and hit him directly. The power almost made his body split open. What? Damn it! The elder in black armor looked ferocious. He couldn't believe it. In the next moment, Lin Xian appeared in front of him again. The giant sword in his hand fell quickly. The sword light flashed and connected heaven and earth, forming a strange and terrifying scene. Bang! The black-armored elder was sent flying again. His black armor shone with flowing light, blocking most of the force. However, the terrifying killing intent and shocking sword intent could not be eliminated. It directly bombarded the black-clothed elder, as if it wanted to tear him apart. "Stop! Stop! Let's talk." The elder in black was terrified again. He realized that Lin Xian still had the ability to kill him. Therefore, he had to lower his head and beg for his life. At this time, the elders around were also furious. They all attacked, trying to stop Lin Xian. However, Lin Xian did not give them a chance. A long black sword appeared in his hand, exuding a terrifying aura of death. Sword of Nirvana. The sword stabbed out, and the strange long black sword quickly sucked away the elder's vitality. Then, a shocking and strange scene appeared in the sky. The long black sword did not pierce the elder in black. However, the elder's body gradually withered, and his face aged. It was as if he had aged more than 100 years in an instant. Soon he turned into a pile of bones. Lin Xian waved his sleeve, turning the bones into dust. Then he grabbed the black armor and put it into his storage ring. "Die, little thief! Leave the treasure behind." At this time, the elders from the imperial family rushed over again, trying to surround Lin Xian. At the same time, a shocking roar came from afar. Several terrifying auras appeared like ancient fierce beasts, covering the whole sky. "Lung Clan! The Lung Clan's experts are here." Everyone was shocked. The other big clan in Wenfeng City had finally sent an expert. "Haha, kid, you're dead." The elders from the Huang clan were excited. Lin Xian's eyes flickered and his brows furrowed. He snorted and put away his long sword. "I'll spare your lives today. However, I'll make sure the Lung clan and Huang clan disappear from Wenfeng City." Then his body turned into a ray of light and rushed into the sky. "Stop him! Don't let him run away." The elder from the Huang clan was shocked. They had waited so long for the Lung clan's experts to come. They would not let him escape. However, they were powerless. The Earth-ranked movement technique was extremely mysterious. It was not something they could compete with. In an instant, countless figures appeared in the sky, and each of them seemed real. These people could not tell which one was the real Lin Xian. When they destroyed all the illusions, they found that Lin Xian was long gone. Swoosh, swoosh. Dozens of figures landed, and a terrifying aura filled the air. Who dares to kill the disciples of the Lung clan? A shocking roar sounded, and it made people's blood spurt out. "Where's that little thief? Tell him to come out and die." The Lung clan's experts looked around angrily, and their bodies were full of killing intent. However, when they saw the blood on the ground and the Huang clan's casualties, many of their pupils shrank. That little thief escaped. But don't worry, he's been hit by our Huang clan's blood chi tracking technique. There's no way he can escape. Chapter 808. But we need to discuss how to capture this brat. They had no choice. The other party was powerful and had a strange movement technique. They didn't want to admit it, but he was definitely at the top of the younger generation. If they wanted to kill such a person, they had to deploy their forces well. Lin Xian left Wind-Seeking City and came to a nearby forest. He had gained quite a lot from this battle. The purple longsword and the black armor, the two top-grade spirit-grade artifacts, had been taken by him. The elders of the Huang family must be mad with anger right now. However, Lin Xian didn't feel guilty. In this world, if he didn't kill others, he would be killed. This was the law of this world. He had to adapt. Putting on the black armor, Lin Xian infused his spirit energy into the armor. Suddenly, the black armor shone brightly. Then the light dimmed and became a tight fit, forming an inner armor. Top spiritual grade artifacts could change their shape at will. Not only could they shrink, but they could also enlarge. It was very magical. The purple longsword was on the same level as his wind shadow sword. It was also a good offensive artifact. In addition to the two artifacts, the storage rings of the two people were very rich. Other than that, what made him even more surprised was that his blood sword king inheritance seemed to have improved and broken through. After absorbing the blood of so many experts, his blood sword king inheritance had finally broken through the first level and reached the second level. In this way, his strength had increased by leaps and bounds. Now, he could even fight against a third-level honorable realm expert. This made him very happy. As expected of a king's inheritance, it was very powerful. There's someone. Suddenly, Lin Xian frowned and looked into the distance. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. They had actually caught up. His figure flickered, and he disappeared on the spot. Not long after, 10 figures landed and crushed everything in the surroundings into powder. These 10 people had powerful auras and were all second-level honorable realm experts. Damn it, that little thief ran away again. Among them, the elder of the Lung family said fiercely, "No matter, he can't escape from our hands." An elder of the Huang family sneered. "He was hit by our Huang family's secret technique. In our eyes, it's impossible to hide. It's only a matter of time before we find him." Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Soon, the 10 venerables quickly flew away and disappeared on the spot. In front of him, Lin Xian frowned. He had changed his position many times, but the other party was still able to clearly see him. This caused his expression to become somewhat gloomy. "Kid, there's a special mark in your body. It must have been left behind by the witch before she died," the Crimson Dragon said. "Mark?" Lin Xian furrowed his brows. He suddenly recalled that Huang Xiaoxiao had used her remaining HP to attack him before she died. Although he didn't feel anything at the time, it seemed like it was some sort of tracking mark. He was like a lamp in the dark night, clearly visible and with nowhere to hide. Thinking up to this point, Lin Xian's face turned gloomy. While flying at high speed, he used all of his soul force to scan every inch of his body. In the end, he discovered something unusual. If it wasn't for his powerful soul force, he probably wouldn't have noticed it. Even after hiding so deeply, "I still managed to find you." Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He mobilized the great dragon sword soul in his body and quickly destroyed the dark red mark in his body. What? Lin Xian was a little surprised. He found that the great dragon sword soul couldn't destroy the mark. After trying a few times, his face became gloomy again. This situation was very strange. It was reasonable to say that the great dragon sword soul was an offensive saint art. There shouldn't be anything that couldn't be destroyed. However, the current situation surprised him. The great dragon sword soul is indeed an offensive saint art, but now that it has become your martial soul, it needs your strength to nurture it. The current strength of the great dragon sword soul is far from what it used to be. The Crimson Dragon explained, "Only when your strength gradually increases will the great dragon sword soul become more fierce. Now it seems that with your current strength, the great dragon sword soul can't immediately destroy this mark. Moreover, this mark isn't an ordinary mark. It seems to be some kind of ancient secret art. If you want to destroy it, I'm afraid it will take some effort." Lin Xian nodded slightly. He could only use the great dragon sword soul to slowly destroy the mark in his body. But before that, he could temporarily trap the mark and make it lose its senses. In the next moment, countless sword qi intertwined, forming a careful cage that sealed the dark red mark. Behind him, the pupils of the Huang family's elders suddenly shrank, and they stopped. "What's wrong? Did you find that kid?" the Lung family's expert asked. "Damn it! How is that possible? I can't sense him anymore." The 4 Huang family's elders' expressions became very ugly. They tried to sense him again, but they couldn't sense his location at all. "This is impossible," one of the Huang family's elders screamed. He couldn't believe that the other party could destroy their family's secret art. One had to know that the secret art was very powerful. Even a third heaven supremacy couldn't destroy it. However, a first layer Martial Highness Realm kid had managed to nullify their sealing technique. After hearing this news, the Lung family's experts fell silent. Their expressions didn't look very good. What should we do? Should we split up and search? With the 10 of us, that kid can't escape at all. One of the Lung family's experts said, "No, absolutely not." The Huang family's elders shook their heads. That kid's battle strength is very strong. If we fight him alone, none of us will be his match. If we act rashly, it's very likely that he will defeat us one by one. Then what should we do? Do we just go back like this? The Lung family's experts were unwilling to give up. "I don't think that kid can destroy our family's secret art. He must have used some method to hide temporarily. As long as we search more, we will definitely be able to find him." In the end, the 10 experts discussed and decided to act together. In the depths of the forest, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon began to set up a formation. He wanted to make sure that those who were chasing him wouldn't be able to return alive. However, he wasn't anxious. Instead, he waited patiently. Firstly, he needed time to slowly erase the mark in his body. Secondly, the other party had sent out 10 second heaven supremacies at the same time. They were extremely powerful. Even he had to be careful when dealing with them. Fortunately, other than the great dragon sword soul that could erase the crimson mark, he also had the heaven-changing technique that could conceal his aura. This ensured his safety. 3 days later, Lin Xian decided to act. He deliberately released a wisp of his aura to lure the 10 experts into the formation so that he could destroy them one by one. That kid's aura has appeared. Suddenly, the Huang family's elders in the forest behind him were overjoyed and sped up. Very soon, the 10 experts arrived and scanned the surroundings. That kid's aura just appeared here. He can't have gone far. The 10 supremacies wandered around nearby. However, in the next moment, the air suddenly fluctuated. The scene around them changed drastically, and a shocking light enveloped them. Chapter 809. It's a formation. The 10 experts were shocked. They didn't expect the other party to set up a formation to wait for them. "Humph. It's just a formation. Do you think you can trap the 10 of us? What a joke." The Lung family's expert was disdainful. The other party was just a first heaven venerable realm cultivator. What kind of powerful formation could he master? Moreover, the 10 of them could kill a third heaven venerable realm cultivator if they joined forces. Breaking a formation would be a piece of cake. Therefore, they didn't take the formation seriously at all. But soon, they fell silent, and their expressions turned ugly. They realized that they had underestimated the formation. After a series of attacks, not only did they not break the formation, but they also lost contact with each other. It could be said that the formation's power and strangeness were completely beyond their expectations. The 10 experts were trapped in the formation and couldn't get out for a while. Originally, they thought that this was just an ordinary array that could be opened with some strength. However, they found that they were wrong, very wrong. The formation was stronger than they had imagined, and it was also very strange. They struggled for so long but couldn't break it at all. In fact, this was very normal. Although these people were second heaven venerable realm cultivators and were powerful, the formation was set up by the Crimson Dragon. Ruzalong, who had lived for thousands of years, was far more knowledgeable and experienced than these people. The formation he set up was quite terrifying. Lin Xian pulled out the Wind Shadow sword and slowly entered the formation. With a flash of light, he arrived in front of an elder. This was an elder of the Lung family, a second heaven venerable realm cultivator. When he saw Lin Xian, he immediately shouted angrily, "You're that thief, come and die!" He held a huge long saber in his hand and slashed forward. The saber flashed like a violent dragon, and the terrifying saber light was connected to heaven and earth. Lin Xian used an earth-level movement technique and moved quickly in the air, easily dodging the attack. Then he shouted coldly and slashed down with the wind shadow sword. This sword was too terrifying, and it even split the void. A terrifying sea of blood appeared in the surroundings. An endless sword light gathered like a waterfall, turning into a sword light that quickly slashed toward the other party. In an instant, the Lung family's expert turned pale with fright. He felt the power of the sword light, and the aura was enough to threaten his life. "I can't take it head on." These words appeared in the mind of the Lung clan's expert. This was the result of his many years of experience and instincts. Stomping his foot, the Lung family's expert turned into a beam of light, shooting up like a bolt of lightning and dodging the attack. Boom. He believed that it would not take long for him to break through to the third rank. After resting in the forest for half a day, Lin Xian adjusted himself to his peak state. He then flew towards Windy City. Windy City was bustling with people. It was getting more and more lively. There were less than 10 days to the Wanxiang auction. Some powerful experts had rushed over, not wanting to miss the event. However, while everyone was excited and happy, the Huang and Lung clans were in a gloomy mood. The two families had joined forces and sent out 10 powerful second-rank honorables to catch the culprit. However, after 10 days, there was no news at all. This gave them a bad feeling. However, although they were worried, they did not believe that the culprit had died. The 10 second-rank honorables could kill a third-rank honorable if they joined forces. It would not be a problem to deal with a first-rank thief. However, after waiting for a few more days, their hearts slowly sank. After such a long time, even if they could not catch the culprit should have returned. However, there was no news. This meant that the culprit was most likely dead. After guessing this, the Huang and Lung families fell silent. They wanted to send out more experts to kill the culprit. However, the auction was approaching, and they could not send more people. They could only put this matter aside for now. However, in Windy City, they kept a close eye on the culprit. As long as the culprit appeared, they would kill him mercilessly. However, they did not expect Lin Xian to use the Great Dragon Sword Soul to trap the blood mark. He then used the Etion technique to disguise himself and successfully entered Windy City. Chapter 8:10. Lin Xian saw Yu Fei when he returned to the small courtyard he rented. "Brother Xian, we have news from Flying Tiger City and Qingshan City. They are basically under control. Nan Gongseng and Ma Rulong have also come to the Blood Realm. They are both in Flying Tiger City. Send them a message and ask them to gather at Windy City." Lin Xian felt that this auction would not be easy. There would definitely be a huge battle. After all, a half-Earth rank weapon was too tempting. It was something that all experts wanted. Furthermore, it was not just a half-Earth rank weapon. There was also the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold. That was the material to make the real Red Lotus armor. A few days later, the highly anticipated Wanxiang auction finally began. Everyone was excited and decided to show off their skills at the auction. They had to get their hands on the treasures. In the VIP room of the Wanxiang auction, Hong Wuji, who was dressed in red, sat on a soft chair. He was surrounded by 6 beautiful women. At this moment, he was looking at the auction through the strange crystal glass in front of him. "The Lone Star sword will be mine." Hong Wuji's eyes shone brightly. At the same time, the other VIP rooms were filled with important figures and experts. In one of the VIP rooms, the experts of the Huang family gathered. "Send someone to bring the blood mirror to the entrance of the auction and wait there. If that little thief dares to come to the auction, kill him immediately." Yes, a few elders retreated and quickly made arrangements. They were going to attack together with the Lung family. If the other party did not come to the auction, then forget it. If he dared to come, then he would not be able to leave. Lin Xian used the heaven-changing technique to change his appearance and aura again. This time, he became an ordinary martial artist. He blended into the crowd and headed for the Wanxiang auction. However, when he approached the entrance of the auction, he felt uneasy. It was as if something was about to happen. This was a subtle instinct of his body. After so many years of fighting, his sensitivity to danger had reached a terrifying level. Therefore, as soon as he felt excited, he immediately came to a stop and stared cautiously at the Wanxiang auction in front of him. There were guards there to maintain order and collect entry fees. The crowd entered quickly. Everything seemed normal. However, Lin Xian frowned slightly. This was because he noticed that there were martial artists dressed in the uniforms of the Huang clan and the Lung clan walking around near the entrance. Furthermore, a crimson mirror floated above the building of the Wanxiang auction house, emitting a faint crimson glow that encapsulated the entire entrance. Seeing the red light, Lin Xian frowned. The dark red mark in his body began to throb violently, flickering with light as if it was attracted to something. This is... Lin Xian's face turned ugly. That damned Huang family. They actually arranged for surveillance at the entrance. He didn't expect the other party to set up such tight surveillance at the entrance of the Wanxiang auction. If he walked over, he would definitely be exposed. Otherwise, judging from their auras, they were definitely second-level venerated realm experts. They were even stronger than the ones he had killed. However, since that was the case, it was impossible to stop him. Not to mention anything else. Just the half-earth rank sword and the phoenix blood crimson gold were treasures that Lin Xian was determined to obtain. He had to attend the auction no matter what. Thinking of this, he strode forward. Buzz. The closer he got to the entrance, the brighter the crimson mark in his body became. He couldn't suppress it at all. In the end, a crimson glow was emitted from his body, soaring into the sky. What, he's here? At the entrance, the experts of the Huang clan and the Lung clan were shocked before their faces turned wild with joy. They had finally found their target. Brat, die. A terrifying giant palm, like that of a demon, slammed down. Humph! Lin Xian harumphed coldly as he struck out with his hand, causing a shocking glow to appear. It was extremely sharp and collided with the palm, producing a clanging sound. The violent energy swept across the place, blowing many martial artists away. Whoosh! The two took a step back and stared at each other, their eyes filled with murderous intent. Stop! Fighting is not allowed in front of the Wanxiang auction house. At that instant, a loud voice could be heard, followed by a powerful force that warned the crowd. If you continue to fight, you will become the enemy of the Wanxiang auction house. You will be killed without mercy. The voice was cold and emotionless. Hearing this, the experts of the Huang clan and the Lung clan fell silent. They knew this rule. Don't worry, we won't fight here. A few of them said to the sky, then stared fiercely at Lin Xian. Brat, how dare you come out? I don't know if you're an idiot or a fool. Today will be the day of your death. A group of people go forward and surround Lin Xian. Although they couldn't fight here, it didn't mean that they would let Lin Xian go. As long as they could get him somewhere else, they could attack. The corners of Lin Xian's mouth curled up slightly. Not being able to fight here was not bad news for him. After all, this was the territory of the two clans. If a fight broke out, there might be some old monsters. Once he was somewhere else, he wouldn't have any worries. Thinking of this, he smiled and waved his sleeve, causing a mysterious jade platform to appear. Buzz. With a flash, Lin Xian disappeared from the spot. What? The Huang clan and the Lung clan were shocked. They didn't expect him to have such a treasure. It's a space teleportation. Chase him? Such a space teleportation array can't be far. Today, we can't let this brat leave alive. Chapter 8:11. The surrounding forest shook, and the earth trembled slightly. One could imagine how powerful this middle-aged man was. He looked down from above. "You dare to show yourself after killing my clansmen? No one can save you today. I will use your blood as a sacrifice to my clansmen." I've heard these words countless times, but every single one of them has become a corpse. Lin Xian's expression was cold. "You are no exception. You will be the next." "Humph! Ignorant!" the middle-aged man snorted. "I will let you know how strong the Lung clan's true experts are." The middle-aged man stepped out, and his body emitted a strong light. At the same time, he sealed off the surroundings to prevent Lin Xian from escaping. "Let's see where you can run to today. Since you want to die, I will fulfill your wish." Lin Xian shouted as he pulled out the wind shadow sword and stabbed forward. Boom! The sword flashed like a dragon's roar, shaking the heavens and the earth. The whole ground cracked, and 1,000-meter-long crack appeared. 100 Fists, the middle-aged man also attacked, and his bronze skin shone brightly as he punched forward with a violent aura. The two collided, and a thunderous sound rang out. With a bang, the middle-aged man was sent flying, and his face revealed a trace of shock. According to the information he received, Lin Xian could not be so powerful. Could it be that this brat was still hiding his strength? He was shocked. In fact, he did not know that not long ago, Lin Xian had successfully evolved the Blood Sword King's inheritance, and his strength had greatly increased. Compared to before, Lin Xian was much stronger. While the middle-aged man was shocked, Lin Xian was also shocked. Lin Xian had taken a blow from his sword and was not injured, which was rare. It seemed that Lin Xian was a body-refining expert. At least, he was much stronger than the previous elders. "Interesting. I hope you can hold on for a while longer." Lin Xian sneered. "Humph, I guarantee that you won't be able to laugh soon." The middle-aged man roared, and the light on his body became even stronger. The entire ground was shaking as if there was an earthquake, and it was shaking rapidly. Rows of trees fell down, creating an area of tremors. The distant mountain peaks also swayed, some of them collapsing. A yellow aura gushed out and surrounded the middle-aged man. In the next moment, his appearance changed greatly. Countless hair grew out of his bronze skin. It was brownish yellow, like the fur of a demonic beast. Soon, this sort of situation spread throughout his entire body. His robust body grew 10 meters taller, becoming even taller. Roar! The middle-aged man was like a demonic monkey as he roared into the sky. His voice was filled with a strong killing intent. Demon beast! Lin Xian was shocked. He did not expect the other party to have such a change. Instead of replying, the middle-aged man roared furiously as he dashed forward like a bolt of lightning. The middle-aged man's body changed shape. Yellow hair grew out of his body. His entire being was like a demonic ape, sinister and terrifying. He roared angrily, turned into a beam of light, and quickly rushed over. Bang! In the blink of an eye, he was right in front of Lin Xian. His huge fist, covered in thick demon hair, quickly punched out. Pung pung pung. Lin Xian swung his sword continuously. Sword chi was like a continuous spring rain, forming a patch and colliding with the middle-aged man's fist. The two collided, creating a series of deafening explosions. It was as if two metals had collided. Lin Xian was surprised. The middle-aged man's strength was much stronger than before. At least he would not be sent flying by him. Not only that, the middle-aged man's sturdy body was like a treasure. He could actually resist his sword chi. No wonder he dared to come alone. He was indeed capable. However, Lin Xian was not worried. He let out a low roar and used the great dragon sword soul, greatly increasing his combat strength. Sword chi surged, and a blood-red light flashed, illuminating the entire sky. A violent and fierce aura filled the surroundings, making him look like a sword god. Whoosh! He stabbed out with his sword. Sword chi surged and turned into a blood-red waterfall, hanging upside down in the air. Summer sword, great waterfall. Sword chi surged, exploding with a powerful explosive force. It quickly enveloped the middle-aged man and sent him flying. Boom! The middle-aged man's body trembled and flew out like a meteor, crashing into a mountain peak. No wonder you could kill my clansmen. You are indeed extraordinary. The middle-aged man stood up from the ruins and shook off the rocks on his body. I have merged with the mountain monster ape's demon soul, but I can't break your sword chi. You are indeed powerful. The middle-aged man was very powerful. He was far stronger than the previous elders. Moreover, his martial soul was very special. After merging with the mountain monster ape's demon soul, it could be said to be incomparably powerful. This transformation had greatly increased his battle prowess. However, he was still no match for Lin Xian in terms of combat strength. One could imagine how powerful the great dragon sword soul was. Merged with the demon soul? No wonder you became like this. You are neither human nor demon. You might as well call yourself a transvestite. Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. You are courting death. I will let you know the power of my martial soul. The middle-aged man's voice was sonorous and full of confidence. He shouted in a low voice, and his body expanded again. He was 10 meters tall with a green face and fangs. His entire person was no different from a demonic beast. When he took a step forward, the ground cracked. The aura on his body surged out in all directions like waves. Lin Xian frowned and slashed out with his sword. With the great dragon sword soul as the foundation, it evolved into a blood dragon that roared out. Boom! The blood dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws in the air. It emitted a terrifying and heavy aura that caused the entire sky to tremble. At this moment, the middle-aged man below also roared into the sky. He raised his hands high and tore the sky apart. Mountain transformation. The pair of hands turned into two mountains that were as heavy as 10,000 kilograms and blasted into the sky. These two mountain peaks were too terrifying, even heavier than real mountains. They stretched across the sky, dark and oppressive, even covering the heavenly sun. A large projection appeared on the ground. It was like demonic chi. It was incomparably cold and carried a monstrous pressure. The middle-aged man sneered. He brought the two mountains and collided with the roaring blood dragon in the sky. Boom, boom, boom. An earth-shattering sound could be heard as the entire void was torn apart. The two mountains bombarded and were struck by the blood dragon. Terrifying cracks appeared on one of the mountains. The entire top of one of the mountains cracked open, and large amounts of gravel fell down. Those gravel splattered and landed on the ground. Each of them could pierce through the ground and create terrifying black holes. As for the blood dragon, it was also forced back by the mountains and became dim. Roar! Seeing the two mountains being shattered, the middle-aged man was furious. He roared and grabbed in all directions. Rumble! The ground cracked and countless mountains collapsed. They quickly condensed into a stone rod that was 100 meters long in the air. Boom! In the next moment, the middle-aged man held the huge stone pillar in his hand and waved it quickly. Boom! Boom! The power was too heavy. It directly crushed the void and covered the sky like dark clouds. Clang! The staff landed directly on the blood dragon's body, blasting it into two halves. Kid, give me your life. With the rod in his hand, the middle-aged man was extremely powerful. He was like a demonic king as he smashed towards Lin Xian. Chapter 8:12. Humph, crooked. See how I'll break you. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Then his long sword surged and sword chi gathered in the sky. countless flames danced and spread in the sky, forming a vermilion bird. Lin Xian used the dragon sword soul to simulate the vermilion bird seal. Terrifying flames filled the sky and burned everything. The dragon sword soul was too powerful. This sword was even more powerful than the vermilion bird seal. It burned everything within 1,000 miles into ashes. Boom! The terrifying vermilion bird circled in the sky and collided with the huge stone pillar. Suddenly, a fiery red light burst out in the sky. It carried a blazing aura and surged in all directions. Like a volcano erupting, smoke filled the air. Heat waves filled the sky as if a volcano had collapsed. Crack! Boom! The huge stone pillar collapsed and melted. The flames quickly flew towards the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man let out a loud roar. Like a real demonic beast, he leaped out from the flames in the sky. With a leap, he charged towards Lin Xian. His eyes shone with a dark green light. At this moment, the light had solidified and was like two long spears. Fusing with demonic souls is still a small path. A martial artist is strong in his heart and faith. Let me show you what it means to be a martial artist. Lin Xian roared. The long sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light. It was like a fiery red sun hanging in the sky. Sword of raging flames. With this sword, the concept of fire surged out and lit up the entire sky. It was like a real sun descending rapidly. Boom! In an instant, the sun-like sword light shrouded the middle-aged man. Flames and sword chi exploded in an incomparably violent manner. The middle-aged man let out a shocking scream. All the hair on his body was burning. His body began to crack like porcelain and began to shatter. No, I won't lose, he roared to the sky. He was unwilling to admit defeat. With the flames and broken body, he charged towards Lin Xian. Star explosion. Lin Xian's eyes were filled with disdain. He stabbed out with his long sword. A ray of sword chi flew out like a meteor and instantly hit the middle-aged man's huge body. Boom! An earth-shattering explosion rang out as the sword chi exploded, producing an intense energy shock wave that directly shattered the middle-aged man's body into pieces. The smoke dissipated, and the ground was a mess. The ground was covered with broken corpses and remains, and it was scarlet red. A powerful second-rank venerable had died just like that. Using his finger as a sword, Lin Xian carved the word Lin on the ground. Then he left without looking back. This was not the first, nor would it be the last. Lin Xian released his soul power and covered the surroundings, sensing the presence of enemies. Since the other party had come to kill him, he would return the favor. Killing to stop killing, this was his method. Lin Xian killed the powerful middle-aged warrior and then turned to leave. Not long after, he met the second venerable one. That person was also a young middle-aged man. He was an expert from the Huang family. Without any hesitation, the two of them directly attacked, causing the sky and earth to dim. In the end, Lin Xian killed him. Once again, Lin Xian carved the word Lin on the ground. He took the other party's storage ring and left quickly. He used his Earth-class movement technique, and his speed was very fast. He traveled through the forest like lightning. The Wanxiang auction had already begun, and he did not want to waste any time. Finally, he met the third expert. It was an old man with a powerful aura, like an erupting volcano. His combat strength was very shocking. This old man was even more powerful than the previous two experts, and he had rich combat experience. However, in the end, he was still killed by Lin Xian. Blood stained the sky as the entire corpse was cut in half by the long sword. If the Huang and Lung families knew that they had lost so many experts, they would definitely regret it. Suddenly, the sound of something breaking through the air came from the sky, as if 3 meteors were falling from the sky. Terrifying spiritual energy surged over like waves, toppling the mountains and overturning the seas. In the next moment, 3 figures appeared and descended from the sky. They surrounded Lin Xian in a triangular formation. Looking at the traces of battle around them and the corpse that was cut in half on the ground, the 3 experts' faces turned cold and murderous. Without further ado, the 3 of them attacked at the same time, determined to kill Lin Xian. The 3 of them were very powerful. 2 of them were experts from the Lung family, and 1 was an elder from the Huang family. The 3 of them worked together, and their combat strength was shocking. They sealed off all directions. In the void, a blue light shone. A huge spearhead transformed into a dragon and charged toward him. It bared its fangs and brandished its claws, and its momentum was terrifying. Lin Xian used the illusory demonic steps, leaving behind an illusion in the air as he quickly dodged the stunning attack. However, in the next moment, his heart raced as a strong sense of danger filled his heart. Using his movement technique, Lin Xian roared and moved quickly. At the same time, he used the red lotus armor to protect his body. Buzz! Streaks of red patterns appeared around him. They intertwined to form an illusory battle armor that enveloped him. At the same time, the sound of the air being torn apart came from behind him. A powerful force, like that of an ancient ferocious beast, quickly bombarded the red lotus armor. The 2 collided with a deafening sound. The terrifying force sent the red lotus armor and Lin Xian flying. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Xian only came to a stop after smashing through dozens of mountains. Walking out of the rubble, Lin Xian was shocked. If he had not reacted quickly and summoned the shadow of the red lotus battle armor, he would have been severely injured. The attack just now was too terrifying. Other than the red lotus armor, nothing could have withstood it. His eyes flickered as he looked up. A tall figure appeared where he had been standing. The muscles all over his body bulged like dragons. In that person's hand was a huge bronze hammer. It was that hammer that sent him flying. 2 other figures stood on both sides of the burly man. One of them held a purple spear and was surrounded by a purple aura. The other person was standing on a light sword, and his entire body was filled with terrifying sword chi. The 3 of them looked like middle-aged men. Their auras were powerful, and they were filled with killing intent. "You're quite capable to be able to withstand my hammer without being injured," the middle-aged man with the green hammer said coldly. "However, even if you escape this attack, you won't be able to escape death. Any last words? Hurry up and leave them." The 3 of them were cold, and their expressions were filled with confidence and power. Lin Xian drew the wind shadow sword and held it in his hand. A terrifying aura also surged from his body. "They deserve to die, and so do all of you. Humph, you're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. I'll take your life today." In the next moment, the middle-aged man in the middle attacked. The green hammer in his hand quickly smashed out. The giant cyan hammer moved horizontally, growing larger in the air as it rushed over like a giant cyan mountain. He wanted to kill Lin Xian immediately, so he used all his strength in this attack. The void churned and the air cracked. Countless cracks spread in all directions. It could not be helped. The bronze hammer was too terrifying. Just its aura alone was enough to make the earth and sky unable to withstand it. The terrifying pressure was like the awakening of an ancient beast. It was terrifying and powerful, making one's heart tremble. It was a shocking scene. The green hammer had not landed, but its aura had already created a shocking aura. Chapter 8:13. Lin Xian held the hidden wind sword in his hand. Sword qi gushed out from his body like a heavenly pillar that connected heaven and earth, the surrounding mountains, and earth turned into powder. Only the place where he was standing was unaffected. When the violent force entered the area he was in, it was quickly destroyed by the sword qi. The void was torn apart, and the airwaves were pushed back. The green hammer quickly swept through the air, trying to smash Lin Xian into meat paste. Lin Xian only made his move when the green hammer was close to the ground. He stabbed out with his sword and slashed upwards. The sword chi flickered and shone brightly. The wind shadow sword quickly expanded into a 300-meter-long sword chi. It was like a green dragon that roared out and slammed into the green hammer. The great dragon sword soul surged and merged with the sword chi with a terrifying attack power. The sword was extremely sharp. The void trembled, and the green hammer swayed, leaving a clear sword mark on the ground. Sky-splitting blood sword. Lin Xian roared angrily and swung his sword again. Suddenly, the sword light surged, and the blood-red sword chi surged out like a sea of blood. In an instant, the green hammer was sent flying. It flew backward like a meteorite, leaving behind a series of afterimages in the air. Die. The middle-aged man was furious. He held the bronze hammer and swung it down mercilessly. Every strike created a bottomless black hole in the ground. The green hammer shadow was vast and mighty, filling the entire sky. Its power could easily crush a second-rank supremacy. In an instant, the ground completely sank and cracked into countless pieces. Lin Xian was still standing on the ground and did not move. The ground around him was also intact. He held the wind shadow sword and slashed out several sword chi. Each sword chi was 300 meters long and surged like a blood-red rainbow. Although the bronze hammer was terrifying and powerful, it was completely useless against the blood-red sword chi. After a short stalemate, it was mercilessly cut open. In the sky, the sword chi was vast and mighty like a heavenly pillar that swept across all directions. Lin Xian attacked with all his might, causing the entire sky to boil. Countless bursts of sword chi surged out from his hands, and they were several times more ferocious than before. Lin Xian slashed out several hundred times in a row. Every sword chi was as thick as a mountain and as fierce as a heavenly sword. It was extremely sharp. Tens of thousands of sword chis crisscrossed. The sword sky shattered. The entire sky was like a shattered mirror. It was incomparably terrifying. Everything within 1,000 miles was filled with blood-red sword chi. A monstrous aura of slaughter engulfed everything. Bang! The bronze hammer was pushed back again and again, unable to withstand the force. The middle-aged man was even more shocked, and his pupils constricted. He did not expect his opponent to be so powerful. Every single one of those terrifying sword chis made him fearful. What a powerful spiritual energy! How old is he? How can he be so strong? The middle-aged man's pupils shrank. Even he wasn't able to launch so many attacks at once, but this young man was able to do so with ease. The disparity between them was obvious. This kind of person is definitely a great enemy of the family. We can't let him live. The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He took out a purple elixir from his storage ring, and it quickly appeared. In the next moment, purple lines appeared on his body and spread rapidly like demonic runes. Bang, bang, bang. A deep sound rang out in the sky. The middle-aged man's muscles became even more powerful. His entire body expanded, as if he had turned into a giant. He roared angrily. The green hammer in his hand trembled and quickly turned into a weapon that was 100 feet long. It filled the sky. Die, you little thief! As the hammer fell, the sky lost its color, and the earth was pierced through. A huge shadow shrouded Lin Xian. The mountains and forests within 100 miles were all destroyed. Clang! The huge bronze demonic hammer slammed into the ground, shattering it into pieces. Lin Xian was crushed under the hammer. No one knew if he was dead or alive. Ha ha! The middle-aged giant laughed out loud. His voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. What genius martial artist. Young expert? That's all you got. You're still killed by my hammer. He was extremely proud, and his face was filled with arrogance. Beside him, the martial artist on the light sword also laughed. Fourth brother's sky-shaking hammer is indeed powerful. It's worthy of being a top-notch treasure that can crush everything. Not to mention that kid. Even an ordinary third-level honorable realm martial artist wouldn't dare to fight against it. The middle-aged giant laughed. Indeed, no one can survive under my sky-shaking hammer. On the other side, the Huang family elder who was holding the spear also heaved a sigh of relief. We've finally killed that little devil. Now we can return to report on our mission. Before he could finish his sentence, the ground below suddenly trembled. Even the mountain-like heaven-shaking hammer trembled, as if it was being lifted up by something. Oh no, that little thief isn't dead. The Huang family elder's expression changed. What? He didn't die. The middle-aged giant was also stunned. His expression was extremely ugly. He had just bragged that no one could survive under his sky-shaking hammer. Now, that kid was still alive. This caused his expression to darken. Be careful. That kid is very strange. Don't let him escape. The two martial artists beside him looked solemn. The aura on their bodies became terrifying. Don't worry, the middle-aged giant said. My sky-shaking hammer is no ordinary item. That attack definitely took away half of his life. Wait for me to attack again. I'll kill him completely. Clang! Another earth-shattering sound was heard. The entire sky-shaking hammer trembled rapidly and made a buzzing sound. Damn, kid, I want you dead. The middle-aged giant was enraged. All the muscles on his body bulged, and a vast amount of energy was released. Bang, bang, bang. Countless rays of sword chi suddenly surged out from the ground. They were like pillars that rose from the ground. Instantly, the ground within 100-mile radius emitted light and shone in all directions. Boom, boom, boom. Tens of thousands of rays of sword chi rushed out and turned into a rain of sword chi. With a bang, the sky-shaking hammer was sent flying. On top of the hammer, there were 8 rays of sword chi that flowed rapidly along the surface of the hammer. Explode! In an instant, the sword chi reached the middle-aged giant's hand and quickly exploded, forming a terrifying impact. Ah, damn it! The middle-aged giant did not have time to react. His entire hand exploded, revealing deep white bones. I'm going to kill you. He roared into the sky and threw out a punch. His fist shone brightly and was not inferior to the sky-shaking hammer at all. Meteor beyond the heavens. Below, a ray of light flashed and instantly pierced through the middle-aged giant's heart. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure appeared in the sky, and he looked extremely fierce. Below, there was an additional bloody hole where the heart of the middle-aged giant was. His enormous body also fell heavily to the ground. Bang! The ground cracked, and blood gathered to form a river. This scene was too shocking. The two nearby martial artists were stunned. Just a moment ago, the arrogant middle-aged giant had died just like that. The two of them felt that it was unreal. Buzz. In the void, the sword chi fell again and slashed at the two of them. The two of them were shocked. They recovered from the shock and quickly dodged. Their eyes shone brightly, and they were like ghosts as they rampaged through the void. Lin Xian sneered. He stretched out his hand and condensed spiritual energy to form a huge golden hand. He grabbed the sky-shaking hammer and smashed it down. Chapter 814. Boom. In an instant, the void exploded. The terrifying force was like a demonic mountain, crashing into the martial artist holding the purple spear. Oh no! The martial artist was shocked and hurriedly dodged. The sky shaking hammer was a top-tier spirit-grade treasure, and it was extremely powerful. It was said to be able to shake the heavens, so one could imagine how terrifying it was. Now that it was in Lin Xian's hands, it was extremely powerful. Whoosh! Although it did not hit the martial artist, the strong wind caused him to tremble. Since you're here, don't even think about going back. Lin Xian looked up to the sky and roared. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he held the sky-shaking hammer and killed in all directions. Phantom sword dance. On the other side, sword chi flashed and countless light swords surged out, filling heaven and earth. The sword chi swept out, splitting the ground and cutting off countless heads, turning them into powder. Bang! Lin Xian held the sky-shaking hammer and swept it out, drawing a half-moon light in the air and instantly shattering all the light sword phantoms. Then he slashed out with his right hand again. Lightning surged and countless lightning bolts fell from the sky. They merged with the sword chi and formed the thunder-killing sword, which was extremely terrifying. He used the thunder concept in this sword, which was powerful and violent. It was like a heavenly tribulation as it slashed toward the martial artist. The martial artist standing on the light sword condensed a 100-foot-long light sword in his hand and swept it in all directions, resisting the lightning. On the other side, the spear flashed and charged toward Lin Xian. Humph! Lin Xian's eyes flickered. He raised the great dragon sword soul to the extreme, and his combat strength soared. He slashed out with his sword and cut the spear in half. Then he used the wind concept, and countless gusts of wind turned into wild blades that slashed toward the martial artist. Lin Xian fought against two martial artists at the same time, and he was extremely violent. The great dragon sword soul was too powerful. His combat strength was heaven-defying, and every sword attack made the martial artist vomit blood. Impossible. This is impossible. The two martial artists screamed and trembled. They could not believe that the young demon king in front of them was so powerful. The two martial artists were shocked and could not believe that the two of them could not take him down. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that the martial artist's attack power was too powerful, far surpassing that of a second-level honorable realm martial artist. Azura Evil Light, Peerless Light Blade. The two middle-aged experts roared angrily. They exploded with powerful strength and displayed powerful martial skills, preparing to attack with all their might. Humph! Let's end this! Lin Xian also let out a long howl. He held the Wind Shadow sword in his hand and slashed in the air. Gale Lightning sword, Mountain River cleaving one sword. A gigantic sword appeared in the sky, emitting an ancient aura. In the next moment, Lin Xian leaped into the air and swung out his golden palm, grabbing the firmament greatsword in his hand. Chop! Boom! The giant sword fell, as if it was going to cut the world apart. The terrifying sword, Chi shattered the opponent's martial arts technique and quickly enveloped the two of them. Ah, this is impossible. The two of them were alarmed. Their strongest attack had actually been broken just like that. The two of them couldn't believe it. This is an Earth rank martial art. One of them screamed, Earth rank martial art. He actually has an Earth rank martial art. Boom. The giant sword fell, cleaving through mountains and rivers and splitting the earth. When the sword chi disappeared, the two martial artists had already disappeared. Not even their corpses were left behind. The power of an Earth rank martial art was terrifying. Now that Lin Xian's cultivation had become stronger, his Earth rank martial art had also become more terrifying. Not to mention the two of them. Even an ordinary third-rank, honorable martial artist would find it difficult to withstand. This was the importance of a martial arts grade. Once it was related to the word Earth rank, it would be superior to everyone else. This was the case for Earth rank martial arts, and even more so for Earth rank artifacts. However, A true Earth rank artifact had not appeared for many years. This was also the reason why a half-Earth rank artifact was so precious. It was an extremely powerful existence. If he had a half-Earth rank artifact, Lin Xian would have been able to end the battle with one sword. After carving the word Lin on the ground, Lin Xian disappeared on the spot. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, a deafening sound came from the depths of the forest. A gigantic green hammer fell from the sky and pierced through the earth. Lin Xian sprinted all the way back to Windy City. He had already killed many people, and it was time to go back. At this moment, the Wanxiang auction had already begun in Windy City. As expected of a top-notch auction, every item made people go crazy. In a VIP room, Hong Wuji sat with an evil smile on his face. He looked down at the auction with narrowed eyes. This time, he was only here for one item. That was the half-Earth rank artifact, the Lone Star Sword. He was not interested in anything else for the time being. In another VIP room, the upper echelons of the Huang family were gathered. One of them had a gloomy expression. It was the Huang family's great elder. "What's wrong? Are those people not back yet?" He frowned and asked, "Not yet, but there shouldn't be any problem." The person beside him said, Let's ignore them for now. This time, we must get the Crimson Phoenix blood gold." Chapter 8:15. In the Windy City, the martial artist below looked up at the sky in horror. It was too terrifying. A powerful and mysterious martial artist wielding the Lung family's treasure smashed the Huang family's elder into meat paste. This scene shocked everyone. If he's not the Lung family's expert, then who is he? The crowd raised their heads in shock. What happened? Why is the Lung family's treasure in someone else's hands? That person, could it be the scholar genius? Someone recognized Lin Xian and exclaimed, "I heard that he killed the Lung and Huang family's genius martial artists and is wanted by the two families. I didn't expect him to appear now." Yeah, not only did he appear, but he's also so powerful. He killed the Huang family's elder in one move. This is a blatant provocation. I'm afraid the Huang and Lung families won't let this go. The crowd discussed excitedly. Lin Xian kept the sky-shaking hammer and descended to the ground. He then walked towards the Wanxiang auction. "I'm sorry. The auction has already started. No one is allowed to enter during this period." A martial artist walked out and blocked Lin Xian's path. Lin Xian didn't speak, but his eyes darkened slightly. The surrounding martial artists started to discuss again. No wonder he appeared in such a hurry. He's here to participate in the auction. What a pity. Once the auction starts, you can't enter anymore. This is the rule. Yeah, I'm afraid he'll return empty-handed. At this time, the remaining Huang and Lung family disciples couldn't withstand Lin Xian's aura. They were so scared that they almost peed their pants. They all fled into the distance. Lin Xian's eyes were cold as he looked around. At this time, the void fluctuated. Countless rays of light shot up and pierced through the escaping martial artists. What? Someone else attacked. The crowd was shocked again. They didn't expect that other than Lin Xian, there would be someone else who dared to attack the Huang family. Boom. A tall, young man landed, causing the ground to tremble. The crowd looked over and saw that the young man had a strong back and a bare waist. He was abnormally tall, like an iron tower. "He, young Master Xian, Dongfang." Lin Xian was stunned, then smiled. It seemed that the people from the Dragon Sword Pavilion were here. Seeing the two of them talking, the crowd exclaimed in surprise. The two of them actually knew each other. No wonder they dared to make a move against the Huang clan. At this moment, Yu Fei and Wang Li also flew over. "Older brother Xian." "Yes." Lin Xian nodded and asked, "Where are the others?" "They're all in the courtyard." However, due to time constraints, Only a few came. The rest are still on their way. The distance between the Flying Tiger City and the Wind-Seeking City was not close. This time, only a few powerful cultivators had arrived. Most of the people were still on their way. Older brother Xian, isn't it an auction? Why don't you go in? Wang Li asked. Hey, we want to go in. No, the auction has rules. No one is allowed to enter in the middle. The auctioneer's attitude was firm. At this moment, another fluctuation came from afar. Boom, boom, boom. The void trembled, as if 10,000 horses were galloping. A low and deep voice spread in all directions. Several black dots appeared in the sky. At first they were very small, but in the blink of an eye, they arrived nearby. Roar, roar, roar. A terrifying roar sounded, causing everyone's face to turn pale. Many people looked at the sky in horror, and Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. In the sky, there were 3 figures. They were 3 strange beasts, and their bodies were shining with light. In the middle was a fierce white tiger with light yellow tiger stripes. Its eyes were bright, and it emitted a terrifying aura. On its back sat a beautiful woman. Her eyes were filled with disdain and arrogance. On both sides was a demon wolf, and on the other side was a white jade demon elephant. Its body was as big as a mountain, and it could crush the air with a casual step. On each of the 2 demon beasts sat 2 young men. Their expressions were cold, and their auras were powerful. Demon General. 1-star Demon General. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. These 3 powerful demon generals were actually mounts. This was too inconceivable. One had to know that a demon general was equivalent to a human honorable. They were the overlords of a region. Their dignity was inviolable. Now they were willing to be mounts, and there were 3 of them. Who were these 3 people? How could they have such a powerful background? Seems like we are late. The young man on the left chuckled. Don't worry, it's not too late to go in now. The young man on the right said coldly, boom, boom, boom. The 3 demon generals landed on the ground, and their terrifying auras formed countless gusts of wind that swept in all directions. When the 3 of them landed, the ground shook. The 3 of them did not come down. Instead, they rode the 3 demon generals and slowly walked towards the Wanxiang auction. Are they going to enter the auction too? The crowd was shocked, and Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The 3 of you, the Wanxiang auction's martial artist's eyes flickered, and he hesitated. To be able to have 3 demon generals as mounts, they must be of extraordinary status. He could not afford to offend such people. Humph! The young man on the right snorted and took out a token. Hiss! The martial artist's pupils shrank, and he said, the 3 of you, please come in. At least you know what's good for you. The young man on the left nodded. Then, the 3 of them waved their sleeves and kept the demon general. Ta-ta-ta! The 3 of them walked into the auction as if they were taking a stroll. They went in. The crowd was shocked. They did not expect the Wanxiang auction to allow the 3 of them to enter. Lin Xian's face darkened, and Wang Li and the rest did not look good either. They had wanted to enter, but the martial artist had stopped them and told them that the auction's rules forbade them from entering halfway. But now there were 3 people who had arrived later than them, but they had swaggered in. This was obviously discrimination. Damn, what do you mean? Why can't we go in? And they can? Yu Fei was furious. Yes. Are you looking down on us? Wang Li said coldly. You have to give us an explanation for this. Dong Fengxiong also stopped smiling. Explanation? The Wanxiang auction's martial artist sneered. What explanation do you want? Who are you? And who are they? Let me tell you, they are the disciples of the Yan family. They are very honorable. The Yan family? Is that a big deal? So, you are a country bumpkin who knows nothing. The martial artist sneered. Let me tell you, the Yan family is Prince Ling Feng's subordinate force. Don't you think they are powerful? Prince Ling Feng. The crowd gasped. He was one of the 4 great princes of Tianwu, and his status was extraordinary. They had not expected the 3 of them to have such a background. When Yu Fei and the rest heard this, their faces darkened. They were in the blood realm, so they naturally knew Prince Ling Feng's name. He was the grandson of the deputy palace master of the Palace of Aries, and the son of the Marshal Honorable, who was ranked 3rd on the Blood Supreme leaderboard. His status was absolutely horrifying. To be able to become his subordinate force, it was definitely a powerful force. When the martial artist saw the shocked faces of Yu Fei and the rest, he sneered, "I advise you to get lost. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude. With your status, don't even think about entering in this lifetime." "What if I don't?" Lin Xian suddenly said with a cold smile. Chapter 8:16. What if I don't? Lin Xian suddenly opened his mouth and sneered. He was furious. If the auction really had such a rule, he would not say anything. However, if they treated him differently because of his status, it would be a different story. He would let these people know that he was not someone they could offend. "Brat, I advise you not to cause any trouble at the Wanxiang auction," the cultivator sneered. "Although you were able to kill the Huang family's elder in one move, you are nothing in the eyes of the Wanxiang auction. It's easy to kill you. How dare you?" Wang Li shouted angrily. "How dare you threaten young Master Xian? Ask me first." Dongfang Xiong took a step forward and emitted a powerful aura. "What? You want to fight?" The cultivator from the auction was disdainful. He snapped his fingers, and 5-second layer honorable realm cultivators appeared behind him. They stared at Lin Xian and the others with unfriendly expressions. "Kid, you don't have the right to fight in front of me." Seeing this, the surrounding people were in an uproar. "Oh my God! Is that kid really going to fight? No one with a brain would do that. The Wanxiang auction is not something the Huang family can compare to. Not only are they powerful, but the forces behind them are even more terrifying." "Yeah, I heard that they are also related to Prince Ling Feng," a group of people discussed, "and none of them thought highly of Lin Xian." "Kid, did you hear that? Get out of here, if you know what's good for you." The cultivator from the auction sneered. "With your status, you won't be able to enter." "Status?" Lin Xian laughed. "What kind of status do you want?" "What status?" "Don't waste your energy. Even the head of the Huang family would not dare to be impudent in the Wanxiang auction." The cultivator from the auction was extremely domineering. Lin Xian ignored him and turned around. "Go and call those people over." "Yes." Wang Li quickly left. "Call people? All right, I'll wait for you." The cultivator from the auction sneered. "If you can make me take a step back today, I'll let you in." Lin Xian ignored him and stood with his hands behind his back. Yu Fei sneered. "Take a step back? You'll be scared to death." He really wanted to see how these people would react when they saw the members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. The auction house's martial artist crossed his arms in front of his chest, a look of disdain on his face. Today, he wanted to see just what kind of people the other party could summon. Putting everything else aside, there was no one in Fengwen City that the Wanxiang auction house was afraid of. The surrounding warriors were also discussing. "This guy, who is he? Who else could it be?" Even a 3rd-layer Martial Highness would not dare to offend the Wanxiang auction. But looking at him, he seems to be very calm. It's like he has a card up his sleeve. Who knows? Maybe he's pretending. Everyone was discussing what Lin Xian was trying to do. At this moment, ripples appeared in the sky once again. It was like boiling water, violently boiling. What is that?" Someone raised his head and exclaimed. Countless black figures appeared on the horizon. They were different from the 3 people from before. They were not black dots, but dark clouds. They were like dark clouds, fast and beautiful. Boom, boom, The sky trembled, accompanied by a vast and terrifying aura. The aura was too terrifying. It was like an ancient demon mountain pressing down on everyone, making it hard for them to breathe. Everyone below was pale. Their auras were tumbling, and their bodies were trembling. Many of the weaker ones directly fell to the ground. Even the second-layer martial highnesses of the Wanxiang auction house were no exception. They circulated their spiritual energy and resisted with all their might. Boom, boom. In the sky, the dark clouds floated and finally stopped above the Wanxiang auction house. This time, everyone saw it clearly. People, they're people. Not only were they people, but they were also experts. They were all experts. Second layer martial highnesses. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. Many of the figures in the sky were second-layer martial highnesses. There were even first-layer martial highnesses. When these people were added together, they could defy the heavens. Someone counted and found that there were a total of 50 people, all of them young martial artists. What kind of power is this? They actually have so many young experts. Everyone was stunned. This power was too strong. At least in Wind-Seeking City, no one could find so many young experts. The martial artist of the Wanxiang auction house was also shocked. He did not expect the other party to find so many experts. Damn it, who is this kid? How does he know so many young experts? Whoosh! In the sky, the 50 young experts descended and filled the street. Brother Xian, the 50 people moved in unison and shouted respectfully at the figure in front of them. Lin Xian nodded and then turned to look in front of him. To be exact, he was looking at the people of the Wanxiang auction house. Now, am I qualified? Boom. Everyone was shocked. Brother Xian? These young experts are calling him Brother Xian? This is too shocking. Are these people the underlings of the scholar? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. He had already restored his true appearance. He was like a king looking down at the people in front of him. No, impossible. The martial artist of the auction house was in disbelief, and he started to tremble. Not long ago, he had mocked the other party and said that he did not have the right to enter. Now, the other party was the leader of this group of young geniuses. This change happened too quickly. The people of the Wanxiang auction house could not accept it. Hua. Hearing Lin Xian's voice, the 50 people raised their heads and looked in front of them. Everyone's faces were filled with anger. Their gazes were like swords converging together. These gazes converged into a torrent that surged forward and sent the people of the Wanxiang auction house flying. They were too powerful. The combined force of the 50 honorables was extremely terrifying. The martial artists of the auction house could not resist and were sent flying like kites. Puff. This was especially true for the cultivator who had mocked Lin Xian earlier. He vomited large mouthfuls of blood. In that instant, he had suffered an extremely serious internal injury. Lin Xian walked forward slowly and asked calmly, "Am I qualified?" His voice was not loud, but it was filled with determination. "If you want to be qualified, fine. I will give you the qualifications." However, Lin Xian did not care if you can accept the qualifications. Puff. The martial artist of the auction house vomited blood again. His body fell to the ground, and he fainted. Lin Xian raised his head and looked at the others. Who can make the decisions? Feeling the gaze, the martial artists trembled and smiled bitterly. Although they were second-rank honorables, they could not make the decision. At that moment, a few figures flew out from the Wanxiang auction house. Who dares to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction house? A loud voice was heard. It was filled with endless pressure. The voice was domineering. It turned into an energy palm and slammed down. In his opinion, no matter who it was, he should suppress them first if they dared to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction house. However, this time, he had made a huge mistake. The people below were not people he could provoke. Boom. In the next instant, the 50 honorables below exploded. Their auras surged upwards like demons. Chapter 8:17. An old man came out from the intersection of the Wanxiang auction. He immediately attacked with his palm in an attempt to suppress the intruders. In his opinion, whoever dared to cause trouble at the Wanxiang auction should be suppressed first. However, he was wrong this time. The 50 martial highnesses below were infuriated, unleashing terrifying auras that surged upward like a deity. Bang! Without any hesitation. The palm formed by the sound wave was shattered into pieces, while the old man was sent flying like a kite, vomiting blood. "Elder!" many cultivators exclaimed, and sprang into the sky, but they were stunned when they saw the scene below. It was a terrifying scene. 50 martial highnesses gathered together, as if an ancient deity had been reborn, extremely powerful. In front of them stood a young man wearing a blue shirt, standing there like an emperor. "Who's in charge? Come out." Lin Xian's voice could be heard, spreading to the surroundings. Powerful, too powerful. The crowd was shocked, unable to believe it. In the wind-seeking city, the Wanxiang auction was considered a dominating presence, and no one dared to challenge it. But now a young man was suppressing the Wanxiang auction. Too shocking. Soon, the people of the Wanxiang auction understood what had happened, and their faces turned dark as if they could not wait to beat the guards to death. "A bunch of trash. Are you blind? How dare you provoke someone like him?" Soon, an old woman with a walking stick walked out and asked in a deep voice, "I'm the manager. Why are you here?" "To participate in the auction," Lin Xian said in a firm voice. "Sure. Give me a moment," the old woman said. "I'll report it now." "No need. I'll go straight in." Lin Xian shook his head and said in a cold tone, after such a long delay, more than half of the auction had been completed, and he was unsure if the Crimson Phoenix blood gold had been sold. Therefore, he had to enter the auction. The old woman was in a difficult position, but she let out a sigh after receiving Lin Xian's firm gaze. "All right, but only 3 of you can enter." "Sure." Lin Xian turned around. "Dongfang and Yu Fei, follow me. The rest of you wait here." "Yes," the group of people replied. Inside the Wanxiang auction, there was a heated atmosphere. The appearance of the Phoenix blood crimson gold caused the entire venue to reach a new height. After many parties fought over it, it was finally won by the Huang family. "Ha ha! The Phoenix blood crimson gold is finally in my hands." Inside the VIP room, the Huang family's grand elder was overjoyed. "With this, we might be able to refine a supreme grade artifact. A supreme grade artifact." Hearing that, the other elders of the Huang family also felt their hearts burning with excitement. Top grade treasures were even better than top grade treasures. They were the best of all spirit grade treasures. That power, that value, it was second only to a half Earth rank treasure. It was also a rare treasure. This time, the Huang family elder wanted to refine a set of inner armor, so he desperately wanted to obtain the Phoenix blood crimson gold. All right, the auction for the Phoenix blood crimson gold is over. That kind of top-grade refining material is extremely rare. I'm afraid a single piece won't be enough to satisfy everyone's needs. Moreover, we only have 1 piece in our auction. However, there is another treasure right now. Its value is even above the Phoenix blood crimson gold. I believe everyone will be interested. Even above the Phoenix blood crimson gold? Hearing this, the eyes of the martial artists in the auction house lit up. The Phoenix blood crimson gold was a supreme grade refining material. If there was a powerful refiner, refining a half Earth rank treasure wouldn't be a problem. But now, there was something even more precious than it. Could it be that thing? Someone was excited. That's right. It must be that thing. A half-Earth-ranked treasure. Only a half-Earth-ranked treasure could surpass the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold. It had to be known that although the Phoenix Blood Crimson Gold was good, it wasn't easy to refine it into a half-Earth-ranked treasure. First, you had to have a refining grandmaster, and this kind of grandmaster-level refining master hadn't appeared for a long time. Therefore, in this situation, a half-Earth-ranked treasure was especially precious. On the crystal platform in front of them, the auction house elder smiled and said, "I believe everyone has already guessed. That's right, the item being auctioned this time is a half-Earth-ranked treasure. Lone Star Sword." Wha, the crowd boiled over, and the entire auction house fell into a frenzy. Lone Star Sword. It really is the Lone Star Sword. A half-Earth-ranked treasure. I never thought that I would be able to see an Earth-ranked treasure in my life. Many people were excited. They knew that this treasure would have a sky-high price, and that the average person wouldn't be able to afford it. Even ordinary forces wouldn't be able to obtain it. But this didn't stop them from going crazy, because just being able to see it was enough. On the crystal platform, the golden-robed elder took out a treasure box and slowly opened it. Suddenly, the void trembled and a powerful and cold aura was emitted. This aura was terrifying and instantly swept through the entire auction house. How terrifying! Everyone was shocked, and their hearts trembled. They never thought that just a wisp of aura would be so powerful. The auctioneer also took a deep breath and slowly picked up the item. Suddenly, a simple-looking long sword appeared in front of everyone's eyes. The sword was 3 feet long and light blue in color. It was as dazzling as a star. On the sword's body, there were traces of mysterious flowing light. As it rotated, it emitted a terrifying aura. On the side of the sword, there were 2 ancient seals with the word Lone Star engraved on it. The auctioneer gently waved the sword. Suddenly, a ray of flowing sword energy gushed out and cut through the air. Accompanying it was a shocking killing intent. Ka, ka, ka. The air couldn't withstand it and shattered. This was just a normal attack. It didn't contain any spiritual power. One could imagine how terrifying it was. If it was swung at full strength, it would probably be able to cut through the entire auction house. After a slight movement, the auctioneer put down the Lone Star Sword and then closed the treasure box. We've asked countless blacksmiths to examine this Lone Star Sword. It's definitely a half-Earth-ranked treasure. Plus, I'm sure everyone has seen its power. It can't be fake. All right, let's begin the auction. Half-Earth-ranked treasure, Lone Star Sword. The starting price is 100 million mid-grade spiritual stones. Each bid must be no less than 10 million spiritual stones. 100 million. Everyone gasped, and their eyes were filled with madness. This number was an astronomical figure for ordinary martial artists. It was an existence that they could only look up to, as expected of a half-Earth-ranked treasure. It was indeed heaven-defying. 200 million. A faint voice sounded, and immediately shocked everyone. F***CK. Who is this? He doubled the price in an instant. What a big move, what a big move. That voice came from VIP room 6. Could it be Hong Wuji from Red Leaf Valley? Yes, it must be him. Only he would be so arrogant as to double the price right off the bat. In VIP room 6, Hong Wuji sat up straight. His eyes were shining as he stared at the crystal platform below. Lone Star Sword. He had been waiting for this for so long. He hadn't made a move in the previous auctions because he was waiting for the Lone Star Sword. Now, he could finally show his skills. Chapter 818. 200 million. Hong Wuji shouted out the price and looked down with a fiery gaze. He knew that this price couldn't scare off those who really wanted the Lone Star Sword, but he had to show a strong attitude. That was the arrogance of the Red Leaf Valley. Sure enough, The price of 200 million shocked the crowd of martial artists below. But soon, someone called out a price. 210 million. 220 million. Soon, bids came from all the VIP rooms, and the price of the Lone Star Sword rose to 250 million. The crowd below was shocked. They could only look up at such a price, but the tense atmosphere made their blood boil. 270 million. Suddenly, a low voice rang out, bringing with it a vast amount of pressure. This aura, could it be a third-level honorable? Many people were shocked. The sharp sword intent in the sky made them unable to raise their heads. Honorable Maniac Sword. It's Honorable Maniac Sword. Many VIP rooms were filled with low exclamations. It was obvious that they were very surprised by the identity of the bidder. Honorables were very powerful, but there was another type of honorable that was even more powerful, and that was the titled honorable. These people were extremely powerful, even among the honorables. Honorable Maniac Sword was such a warrior. He was a third-level honorable, and because of his violent sword techniques and terrifying combat strength, he was called Honorable Maniac Sword. I didn't expect Honorable Maniac Sword to come too. Yeah, looks like it's going to be more interesting this time. Honorable Maniac Sword is not only powerful, but he also has a violent temper. If he doesn't get the Lone Star Sword this time, he'll probably go crazy. Many people discussed, and some warriors gave up bidding because of Honorable Maniac Sword's words. However, not everyone was afraid of Honorable Maniac Sword. And in front of such a half-Earth class treasure, everyone was even more crazy. At least, Hong Wuji didn't care. 300 million. He stared at the crystal platform below with a fanatical look in his eyes. The Lone Star Sword must be mine. With the Red Leaf Valley behind him and his own strength, Hong Wuji wasn't afraid of Honorable Maniac Sword even though he couldn't beat him. Therefore, he immediately raised the price after Honorable Maniac Sword made his bid. Wow, Red Leaf Valley made another bid. How arrogant. Yeah, he doesn't even take Venerable Maniac Sword seriously. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect Hong Wuji to be so bold. The Maniac Sword Venerable also snorted coldly in VIP room number 3. He stood proudly, and his entire body was filled with an unyielding aura. 330 million. He bid again, 340 million. Other than Hong Wuji, there were other experts who bid. No one could remain rational in the face of such a treasure. The Huang family, the Lung family, and the other families were also bidding. Although he knew that they wouldn't be able to obtain this item, they still knew how to secretly raise the price. However, when the price reached 400 million, these families gave up. They had already raised the price by a lot. If they continued, they would be targeted. Now, the only ones left were the experts outside the Wind City. Among them, the Frenzied Sword Highness and Hong Wuji were competing fiercely. Apart from them, there were a few others who did not speak much, but each time they did, it was shocking. 400 million. In a VIP room, a young man with a cold face spoke. Apart from him, there was also a frivolous young man and a beautiful woman. The three of them were the 3 disciples of the Yen family who had entered earlier. It seemed that they were also here for the Lone Star Sword. Hearing the bid, the crowd was shocked again. This was because the voice sounded very young, and they could tell that it was a young man. For a young martial artist to bid such a price, it was obvious that he had an extraordinary background. Hong Wuji also frowned. He did not expect that there would be other young martial artists who dared to bid other than him. He sneered and shouted again, 420 million, 430 million, 450 million. The 2 of them competed, and neither of them gave in. The smell of gunpowder was strong. Who is this guy? How dare he compete with us? The cold young man frowned. As a disciple of the Yen family, even the Vientiane auction had to give him face. Now, someone dared to compete with them. This was a blatant provocation. Hong Wuji was also furious. As a disciple of the Red Leaf Valley, arrogance and haughtiness had always been his style. Now, someone dared to compete with him. He could not tolerate it. Therefore, he bid again. Apart from that, a middle-aged beauty and a mysterious old man bid and competed with each other. In an instant, the smell of gunpowder was strong, and the atmosphere in the auction house was extremely tense. 500 million. Honorable Maniac Sword spoke again, and everyone's eyelids twitched. 550 million. Hong Wuji did not back down, and he quickly bid. Silence, absolute silence. Many people gave up bidding. This price had stopped most of them. Even the disciples of the Yen family frowned. They were hesitant because of this price. I would like to see who dares to be so arrogant. The cold young man snorted. Someone dares to compete with us in Wind-Seeking City. He is courting death. All right, stop bidding. We will act according to the situation later. At this moment, the beautiful lady spoke. Kid, this sword is very important to me. Can you give it to me? I will compensate you. Honorable Maniac, Sword said in a deep voice. I don't lack anything. I only want this sword. Hong Wuji rejected. Humph. In VIP room 3, Honorable Maniac Sword snorted, and his face turned gloomy. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and it was like a sword radiance. He did not bid again. Instead, a cold smile appeared on his face. Obviously, he wanted to kill Hong Wuji. In the blood realm, it was common to kill and steal. Although Hong Wuji was from the Red Leaf Valley, he was willing to do anything for the half-Earth rank artifact. As long as he got the Lone Star Sword, his strength would increase greatly. Moreover, in the blood realm, Red Leaf Valley might not be able to do anything to him. Therefore, he decided to kill Hong Wuji in an instant. Honorable Maniac Sword did not make a sound, and the others did not bid either. Perhaps they had the same idea as Honorable Maniac Sword. But no matter what, the whole place was eerily quiet. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect that even Honorable Maniac Sword could not compete with Hong Wuji. Hong Wuji, on the other hand, was excited. He clenched his fists, and his eyes were filled with excitement. Finally, after such a long time, he got the Lone Star Sword. 550 million. Anyone else? The auctioneer asked. Seeing that no one answered, he slowly said, 550 million. Going once, 550 million. Going twice, 550 million. Going thrice. Deal. Before the word deal could be shouted, the auction house's door suddenly opened with a bang. Then, a powerful aura and blazing light rushed in, causing the whole auction house to fall into a frenzy. Everyone turned to look. 1 billion. A sonorous voice sounded, and then a figure quickly walked in. Chapter 819. The person in the lead was a young man in a blue shirt. He had a handsome face and a sharp gaze. He walked over quickly with a supreme aura. I'll bid 1 billion. 1 billion. The crowd was shocked and could not believe it. Even the auctioneer was stunned. On one hand, he was shocked by the person's bid. On the other hand, someone who could enter the auction in the middle of the auction must have an extraordinary status. Humph! You'll lose your life if you make a false bid. A cold voice was heard. Many people sneered in disbelief. After all, 1 billion spiritual stones was an astronomical figure. Boom, boom, boom. Boxes of spiritual stones flew out from the storage ring and filled the hall. Each box was shining brightly and made the void tremble. Soon, the entire sky was filled with spiritual stones. Do you think I'll lie? Lin Xian said disdainfully. The martial artist who mocked him earlier was speechless and snorted angrily. The others were shocked and dumbfounded. It was too shocking. It was the first time they had seen so many spiritual stones. Although Hong Wuji had bid 500 million, it was just a number, and the crowd did not have a clear idea of it. Now, the The sky was filled with spiritual stones, and there were even more spiritual stones flying out from the storage ring. The scene was too shocking and unforgettable. Is it enough? Do you want me to take out all the spiritual stones? Lin Xian stood in the middle of the hall and said calmly, "Yes, it's enough." The auctioneer took a deep breath and smiled warmly. "Sir, please keep the spiritual stones. If the auction is successful, someone will come to receive you." The auctioneer's attitude was completely different from before. Lin Xian nodded and waved his sleeve, collecting the spirit stones that filled the sky. He did not go to the VIP room. Instead, he found a place to sit with Dongfang Xiong and the other two. The auctioneer took a deep breath and said loudly, 1 billion spiritual stones. "Sir, you've bid 1 billion spiritual stones. Are there any more bids?" Hearing that, the crowd fell silent. Even the forces in the VIP room did not make a sound. Hong Wuji looked down, and his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He had already stood up from the soft chair and walked to the front of the crystal, staring down. His body trembled slightly. A terrifying aura and sword intent filled the air and froze the entire space. "It's him." Hong Wuji frowned. He naturally recognized Lin Xian, but he did not expect him to be able to take out so many spiritual stones. "Young master, what should we do?" At the back, the young woman with an oval face asked, "This kid dares to fight with young master for something. He's really reckless. Why don't I go and kill him now?" "Reckless? Humph." Hong Wuji laughed, his face carrying a hint of evil charm. "You're right, he really doesn't know what's good for him. Just ignore him and let him bid. He'll soon know that the Lone Star Sword isn't something that can be bought with money." His words were filled with intense killing intent. It was obvious that he wanted to kill. Not only him, but the other experts who were bidding were also sneering. In VIP room number 3, Venerable Maniac Sword's eyes were filled with killing intent. He couldn't help but laugh wildly. Previously, he had been somewhat worried about losing to Hong Wuji in the bidding. After all, Hong Wuji was a member of Red Leaf Valley and had a special status. If he were to kill Hong Wuji, the consequences would be dire. However, things were different now. He didn't know this young man who was bidding. Even the others didn't know him. This meant that the other party didn't have a strong background and was just rich. For such a person, it was fine to kill him. He posed no threat. It seems like the Lone Star Sword is destined to be mine." Venerable Maniac Sword sneered and sat down. Now he just had to wait for the transaction to end. For a moment, countless pairs of eyes stared at Lin Xian. Lin Xian naturally knew. However, even if he were to buy it secretly, he would be discovered. After all, such a precious artifact would attract everyone's attention. It was impossible to take it away without anyone noticing. Rather than that, he might as well take it openly. At least he could intimidate some martial artists who didn't know the truth. Moreover, he had 50 members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion. He was confident that he could bring the Lone Star Sword out. 1 billion going once. 1 billion spiritual stones going twice. The auctioneer said twice. He was overjoyed. This price was twice as high as the previous price, far exceeding his expectations. 1 billion spiritual stones, going thrice, sold. A loud voice rang out, echoing throughout the auction hall. Countless people cried out, crazily in disbelief. Exciting, too exciting. This was probably the highest bid in the Wanxiang auction in the past few decades. Hearing the auctioneer's voice, Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. He had arrived late, so the Crimson Phoenix blood gold had already been sold. If he hadn't been strong, he might have even missed the Lone Star Sword. The current situation wasn't too bad. He just had to find out the whereabouts of the Crimson Phoenix blood gold. He would leave this matter to Yufei. As the Lone Star Sword was sold, the auction came to an end. The martial artists who had won the bid all stood up and walked towards the backstage. Lin Xian also stood up and walked towards the backstage. Just as he moved, he felt countless gazes on him. Some of them were extremely arrogant, and the killing intent in them was not concealed at all. Humph! Do these people really think that I'm easy to bully? Lin Xian sneered in his heart and took a step forward. Hong Wuji was even more arrogant. He walked directly in front of Su Mo and exuded a strong killing intent. Chapter 8:20. Now, the Lone Star Sword belongs to you. Lin Xian took a deep breath and took the square treasure box. Then he slowly opened it. An ancient long sword lay quietly in the treasure box, emitting a cold light. It was like a star in the sky, shining in solitude. Lin Xian reached out and grabbed the hilt. He immediately felt a cold sharpness and a crazy sword intent. He knew that the sword had gained sentience. This was an instinctive resistance. With a light snort, Lin Xian also had a sword intent in his body, which he quickly injected into the Lone Star Sword. Boom! The two forces collided and were in a stalemate. However, in the next moment, the dragon sword spirit erupted and pounced into the Lone Star, soared like an angry dragon. Buzz! The Lone Star Sword trembled, as if it had come alive. It emitted a terrifying light, and the sharpness was several times stronger than before. So powerful, Lin Xian praised. Holding the Lone Star Sword, he felt like he controlled the world. It was a mysterious feeling, as if he was one with the sword. It was intoxicating. The auctioneer beside him was even more shocked. It was really shocking to be able to subdue a half-Earth-rank treasure so quickly. One had to know that he could only activate it and could not subdue it at all. Lin Xian did not put away the Lone Star Sword. Instead, he took out the black scabbard and slowly inserted it. Then, his spiritual power turned into threads, and he carried the ancient sword on his back. Goodbye. Lin Xian turned and walked out. Outside the backstage, countless people gathered. Their eyes were shining with a terrifying light. They were waiting for Lin Xian to come out. He's here, someone whispered. Suddenly, everyone looked forward. They saw a young man in a blue shirt slowly walking out of the passage. On his back, there was an ancient sword. He was like a divine sword that was unstoppable. Lone Star Sword. Countless people exclaimed. They did not hide the passion in their eyes. In the distance, the surrounding martial artists were even more shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to carry the Lone Star Sword on his back without hiding it at all. How confident must he be to dare to do so? Humph! At least you know your place. You know that you can't keep your treasured sword, so you might as well not hide it anymore. Someone sneered. Brat, hand over the sword and I won't kill you. The Lone Star Sword isn't something you can take. Cold gazes fell on Lin Xian as if they wanted to pierce through him. Humph! Lin Xian snorted coldly and swept his gaze across the area. His gaze was like a sharp sword that streaked across the air. Ding ding wong wong. Many people retreated, their faces pale. Their eyes were filled with shock. The other party had actually forced them to retreat with a single glance. The other people's expressions changed as well. Their opponent's strength was beyond their imagination. However, Hong Wuji, the maniac sword highness, and the others simply let out hollow laughs. The gaze was not enough to scare them off. Everyone, fighting is prohibited in the auction house. The golden-robed elder walked out and said with a grave expression, although the Wanxiang auction house had a huge influence in the city, it was inevitable that these people would go crazy when faced with a half-Earth rank artifact. Therefore, it was better to warn them in advance. Elder Jean, don't worry, we won't fight here. Some martial artists expressed their stance. Brat, let's go. A man with a goatee said coldly. Then, the crowd opened up a path for them. Let's go. Lin Xian called out to Dongfang Xiong and Yu Fei and walked out. Humph, he's courting death. He actually dares to go out. If I were him, I'd hide here for the rest of my life. Yeah, in this situation, he'll die if he goes out. A group of people discussed among themselves. They felt that Lin Xian was too stupid, and that he would be courting death if he went out. Yu Fei sneered when he heard the discussion. If these people knew how many people were waiting for them outside, would they cry, "Ta-ta-ta"? Lin Xian's footsteps were steady as he walked towards the exit. The people behind him became nervous. Many of them secretly circulated their spiritual energy and pulled out their artifacts, preparing to attack. They decided that as long as Lin Xian stepped out of the door, they would take action. This was a crucial moment. Whoever could get the sword first and leave safely would have a meteoric rise. The space froze and the atmosphere was tense. Everyone's eyes flickered as they stared at Lin Xian. In the next moment, Lin Xian finally stepped out of the auction house's door. Attack! Countless people shouted as their spiritual energy erupted and surged forward. Brother Xian! The light gradually grew brighter as orderly shouts came from outside. It was as if an army was marching, and it was shocking. Those voices condensed into a force that blasted in all directions. Pfft! Dozens of figures spat out blood and flew out. Bang, bang, bang. These people crashed into the nearby buildings and made a low sound. Those martial artists who did not attack were also affected, and their faces turned pale. What? Everyone was stunned when they saw the situation in front of them. In front, 50 young men looked at Lin Xian respectfully. Their auras were powerful, and they all had the aura of a supremacy. Supremacies, 50 supremacies. Everyone sucked in a breath of cold air in disbelief. There were 50 supremacies waiting to protect Lin Xian. No wonder the other party wasn't afraid. He had such a trump card. Even the pupils of powerful warriors like Hong Wuji and Maniac Sword Supremacy constricted. Although they were powerful, they couldn't handle 50 supremacies at the same time. Moreover, there was an expert like Lin Xian among them. For a moment, the scene became incomparably silent. Snatch it! Why aren't you snatching it? Yu Fei sneered as he looked around. Weren't they all arrogant before? Why were they all cowering now? He was furious. Just now at the auction house, these people acted high and mighty as if they were going to eat them. That kind of atmosphere made him extremely unhappy. So now he wanted to vent his anger, bringing 10 supremacies with him. Yu Fei came to the injured martial artists on the ground. Aren't you guys awesome? How dare you snatch Brother Xian's sword? You're courting death. What? They dare to snatch Brother Xian's things. The disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion became anxious when they heard this. All of them looked at those people with fire in their eyes. Bang! One of them sent a martial artist flying with a kick, causing him to spit out a large mouthful of blood. Yu Fei arrived in front of the goatee martial artist, raised his palm, and ruthlessly slapped him a few times. Pa, pa, pa! Very quickly, that martial artist turned into a pig's head. None of the martial artists who made a move were spared. They were all beaten up. The others also did not dare to make a move. What a joke! Who could beat 50 supremacies? Let's go together. I don't believe that we can't beat them. Someone was secretly instigating. Humph! Lin Xian's gaze focused. He raised his hand and slashed out a ray of sword chi, instantly sending the person hiding in the dark flying. Whoever wants to make a move, I'll accompany you to the end. His gaze looked around with an endless, domineering aura. No one made a move. Many of the weaker martial artists retreated. However, not everyone had such rationality. Many of them were blinded by the treasures. Wait, who told you to leave? A cold snort sounded. Chapter 8:21. Wait, who allowed you to leave? A cold voice sounded. Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and turned around. Whoosh! Wherever he looked, The crowd immediately dispersed. No one dared to stand. However, 3 silhouettes remained unmoved and continued to stand there. 2 men and 1 woman. They were extraordinarily handsome and had powerful auras. "It's them, the disciples of the Yen family," someone exclaimed. They did not expect the disciples of the Yen family to attack. Lin Xian also frowned. He had seen these 3 people before. Not long ago, the 3 of them had swaggered into the auction hall right in front of him. At that time, he knew that they were disciples of the Yen family. However, he did not expect them to attack now. The youth on the left had an evil smile and a cynical look. He stared at Lin Xian and said with a smile, "Since you have obtained the treasured sword, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you take it out and let everyone see?" The cold-looking youth on the right snorted. "Why are you wasting your breath on him? Just kill him." "But he only has 1 head. Are you going to kill him, or am I going to kill him?" Yan Chong laughed. "That's easy. We'll attack at the same time. Whoever kills him first will get the Lone Star Sword." Yan Ling said, "That's a good idea." "I like it." Yan Chong nodded. "However, his storage ring will be mine. I guess there should be many good things inside." "Sure." Yan Ling did not refute. The 2 of them conversed as if Lin Xian was prey waiting to be slaughtered at any time. In their opinion, only the disciples of the Yen family were worthy of possessing a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword. No one else was worthy of it. Hearing their words, the disciples of the Dragon Sword Pavilion trembled with anger. Their eyes were filled with anger. "Brother Xian, let me kill them." Wang Li gritted his teeth and said, "No need. I'll do it myself." Lin Xian stopped them and said in a deep voice. His eyes flashed with a cold light and killing intent. He had spent 1 billion spirit stones to buy the Lone Star Sword. Whoever dared to have any ideas about it would only have one outcome. That was death. Lin Xian's body surged with killing intent, like a killing sword, surging towards the sky. However, this did not frighten the Yen clan's disciples. Instead, it aroused their disdain. "Brat, I'll let you know that you don't deserve to have the Lone Star Sword." The evil-looking young man, Yan Chong, laughed nastily. "Only the genius disciples of our Yen clan are worthy of it." The cold young man's eyes carried a trace of disdain. The 2 of them were like 2 bolts of lightning, rushing over quickly. Whoosh! The evil-looking young man attacked. His body was like a ghost. Wherever he passed, grayish-white petals would fall. Those flower petals spun about, slicing through space, incomparably sharp. On the other side, the cold-faced youth attacked as well. The 2 of them screamed in their hearts. However, in the next moment, Lin Xian turned into a sword radiance and rushed towards the 2 of them. In an instant, the dazzling sword qi in the air was slashed apart. It was like a piece of cloth that was mercilessly torn apart. An even more terrifying blood-red sword qi swept across and slashed at the cold-looking youth. Ah, a blood-curdling scream was heard. Blood splattered, and the entire space was dyed red. Everyone's heart trembled. They looked over and saw the cold-looking youth's body split into 2 halves. What was even more strange was that the blood that gushed out quickly condensed into a blood-red sword in the air. The blood-red sword was demonic and carried with it a monstrous, murderous aura. "What? He's dead." Everyone was shocked. They did not expect the arrogant and powerful genius of the Yen family to be killed in one move. A wave of fear spread through the crowd. Those martial artists who were eyeing the Lone Star Sword were even more horrified. Many of them trembled and gave up on the idea of snatching the sword. They did not think that they were stronger than the cold-looking youth, Yan Ling. Since Lin Xian could kill Yan Ling in one move, killing them would be as easy as slaughtering dogs. Although a half-Earth-class treasure sword was good, One needed to be alive to enjoy it. In an instant, half of the people thought of retreating. They did not dare to be enemies with Lin Xian. Impossible. This is impossible. The evil youth, Yan Chong, was shocked. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The person that he regarded as an ant had killed his comrade in one move. This scene was too shocking. He could not accept it. After killing Yan Ling in one move, Lin Xian was expressionless. He turned his gaze and stared at Yan Chong. What are you trying to do? The evil youth, Yan Chong, was shrouded by Lin Xian's gaze. His body trembled as fear rose from the depths of his heart. Chapter 8:22. Kid, I'm warning you. I'm a disciple of the Yan family. If you dare to touch me, you're dead. Yan Chong had lost the courage to attack. He could only use his family's identity to suppress Lin Xian. However, in front of others, that insufferably arrogant identity of a disciple of the Yan family was nothing in front of Lin Xian. A disciple of the Yan family? Lin Xian sneered. I've already killed a disciple of the Yan family. Do you think the Yan family will reconcile with me? Since I've already offended them. What's the difference between killing one or two? Lin Xian's face was cold. He had no intention of letting the other party go. Feeling Lin Xian's gaze and the cold, murderous aura, the evil youth's heart sank. He knew that no matter what, Lin Xian would not let him go. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. Why did he have to be the first one to intercept Lin Xian? If they had waited for a moment for someone else to make a move, they would have known how terrifying Lin Xian was. Perhaps they would not have made a move. But now, it was too late. At this thought, the evil youth roared. Once again, a powerful aura erupted from his body. Endless spiritual qi surged out like a torrential sea. It's not that easy to kill me. His black hair fluttered in the wind, and he looked extremely evil. Countless grayish white petals spun around him rapidly, forming a demonic sword qi. You were able to succeed just now because we were careless. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to kill Yan Ling in one move. The evil youth calmed down, and his eyes shone with a frightening light. Indeed, the two of them had not taken Lin Xian seriously. Therefore, although their attacks were terrifying, they were only ordinary attacks. In his opinion, they must have underestimated their opponent. Now that he had summoned his martial soul, he would definitely be able to kill Lin Xian in one blow. At this thought, confidence returned to his eyes, and he smiled evilly. This time, I won't give you a chance. I'll go all out and kill you in one move. Is that so? I'm looking forward to it. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back like a sword sage. He did not use the lone star sword on his back. Instead, he waved his arm and controlled the blood-red long sword in the sky. You're courting death, the evil young man roared. His black hair fluttered in the wind as it transformed into a terrifying sword qi that quickly slashed towards Lin Xian. Behind him, a grayish-white snake-shaped longsword was formed, emitting a terrifying aura. Die, brat. This time, he unleashed his martial soul with all his might. His combat strength was several times stronger than before. However, the other party dared to look down on him, using only his arm to control the blood sword in the sky. This kind of casual attitude made him go crazy. Just you wait. You will pay the price for your insolence. The demonic youth, Yan Chong, had a ferocious expression on his face. He swore that he would definitely behead Lin Xian with this strike. Boom! The entire void trembled as countless blood-red auras spread out from the originally clear sky, forming a vast sea of blood. The sea of blood surged, releasing rumbling sounds. That aura made one's heart tremble. In the middle of the sea of blood, there was a blood-red longsword. It was demonic and scarlet, and it emitted a monstrous killing aura. Under the guidance of Lin Xian's arm, the terrifying blood-red killing sword turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly slashed downwards. In the next instant, it collided with the evil young man, Yen Chong. Rumble! A dull and terrifying sound reverberated in all directions as waves of violent energy poured down. There were countless blood-red sword qi mixed within the energy. It was like a blood-red river, flowing in all directions. It was terrifying. Yen Chong was completely surrounded by the blood-red sword qi. Looking at the terrifying scene in the sky, the crowd trembled and gasped. It was too terrifying and shocking. They did not expect Lin Xian's casual strike to create such a terrifying aura. They wondered if Yen Chong could withstand it. In the distance, Hong Wuji, Honorable Maniac Sword, and the rest frowned. Every time Lin Xian attacked, he would become stronger. It was as though his combat strength was limitless. This situation made them look grave and uneasy. It seemed that it would not be easy to snatch the Lone Star Sword from Lin Xian. The crowd had different expressions. Just then, the blood-red sword qi in the sky gradually disappeared. The crowd held their breaths and looked up. They wanted to know if Yen Chong had withstood the attack. However, in the next instant, they were all stunned. That was because the sky became clear again. However, Yen Chong was nowhere to be seen. It was as though he had evaporated and disappeared into thin air. Did he dodge it? Someone was puzzled and looked around. Yes, he must have dodged it. Below, the last disciple of the Yen family, the beautiful lady, was holding the corner of her clothes nervously. She looked uneasy and kept comforting herself. However, after a long time, Yen Chong's figure was still nowhere to be seen. Was he killed? Not even the bones are left? Finally, someone voiced out such a question. Like a plague, this idea quickly spread among the crowd and was finally accepted. Countless people stared blankly at the sky, speechless. Their hearts were numb. The young man in front of them was too mysterious and too powerful. He had killed the genius of the Yen family with just a casual strike. In the distance, the last girl in purple from the Yen family screamed. Her body trembled, and her face was full of shock. You're dead. You killed the genius of the Yen family. No one can save you. The girl in purple screamed. The genius of the Yen family? Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. Chapter 8:23. Hearing this, everyone was shocked. It was rumored that young Master Ling Yun was behind the Wanxiang auction. No one believed it at first, but now it seemed like it was most likely true. Otherwise, a neutral force like the Wanxiang auction would not interfere in the underworld's conflicts. Lin Xian's face darkened. He did not expect the auction to interfere. However, since he had made up his mind to kill, he would not change it. I have no grudges with the Wanxiang auction. I hope you won't interfere. As for the Yen family disciples, they were so arrogant when they wanted to kill me. Do you think I'll let them go? Lin Xian shook his head. The murderous intent in his eyes intensified. If that's the case, don't blame me for being rude. The elder in the golden robe snorted. The Wanxiang auction was so prestigious that no one dared to provoke them. However, there was someone who dared to not give them face today. To the elder in the golden robe, Lin Xian was too arrogant. However, he had forgotten that it was the 3 Yen family disciples who were arrogant and wanted to kill Lin Xian. They were the ones who wanted to kill him and steal his treasures. Their actions were despicable. However, they were not as strong and did not succeed. If it was anyone else, they would have been killed by the Yen family disciples. Seeing that Lin Xian did not give him face, the elder in the golden robe snorted. He quickly waved his hand and prepared to attack. Streaks of golden ripples shone like dragons as they circled around the golden-robed elder at high speed. In the next moment, he punched out. A terrifying force surged out, accompanied by 9 golden dragons. On the other hand, Lin Xian sneered as he executed his Earth Rank movement technique, and he transformed into a string of afterimages that instantly vanished. At the same time, he waved his fingers and shot out the 3 flying swords he had collected earlier. The 9 golden dragons missed and tore the void apart. The 3 flying swords were like lightning, instantly hitting the purple lady behind the elder in the golden robe. The purple lady could only let out a scream before she was pierced by the 3 flying swords and pinned to the building behind her. "Kid, you're courting death." The elder in the golden robe was trembling with anger. He had already expressed his stance and wanted to protect the purple lady. However, the purple lady died in front of him after a while. Face slapping. This was a blatant slap to the face. The golden-robed old man's eyes were gloomy, and his entire body emitted a terrifying aura. To be honest, he didn't care about the woman in purple's life or death. After all, they were merely allies with the Yen clan. It wasn't to the point where they had to risk their lives for her. However, as an elder of the Wanxiang auction house, he could not tolerate the arrogant attitude of the other party. He did not put him in his eyes at all. He could ignore the purple-clothed girl's death, but he couldn't allow her to slap his face in public. "Brat, you are very arrogant. No one has ever dared to go against the Wanxiang auction." The golden-robed old man's voice was cold and gloomy, emitting a terrifying murderous aura. Behind him, countless Wanxiang auction house martial artists quickly gathered. Competing in numbers, Dong Fangxiong sneered and strode out. His entire being was like an iron tower, causing the earth to tremble. Boom! The 50 members of the Dragon Sword Pavilion behind Lin Xian also took a step forward, and a terrifying aura rose from each of them. 50 powerful auras gathered together, suppressing everything. This power was too shocking, and it immediately intimidated the people of the Wanxiang auction house. The golden-robed old man's eyes were gloomy, and his face was terrifyingly dark. Although the other party didn't have as many people as they did, every one of them was an elite genius that could suppress anyone. If a fight really broke out, the Wanxiang auction house would definitely suffer great losses. He was only an elder of the Wanxiang auction house, and he couldn't bear the consequences. Originally, he wanted to use his power to suppress the other party, but he didn't expect that the other party would easily resolve the situation and even counterattack. This feeling of grievance almost made the golden-robed old man vomit blood. For a moment, the golden-robed old man and the Wanxiang auction house martial artists behind him were in a dilemma, and they were all stunned. The surrounding martial artists were shocked. How many years had it been since anyone dared to go against the Wanxiang auction house? Even the Huang and Lung clans of Wind-Seeking City didn't dare to be so presumptuous. But now, a young man who wasn't even 20 years old had done such a shocking thing, and even successfully intimidated the Wanxiang auction house. This was too shocking. Looking at the sullen face of the other party, Lin Xian said coldly, "I spent 1 billion spiritual stones to buy the Lone Star Sword, so it's naturally mine. But the 3 disciples of the Yen clan wanted to kill me and steal the Lone Star Sword without spending a single cent. How can there be such a cheap thing in this world? The disciples of the 3 great clans actually did such a shady business of killing and robbing. How despicable! Killing and robbing. You're not strong enough, but you were killed instead. You deserve to die." Lin Xian said coldly, "And your Wanxiang auction house doesn't care about the twists and turns, and doesn't care about right or wrong. You actually cover up for the martial artists who killed and robbed. Such actions are despicable. Now you're angry out of humiliation and want to attack the auctioneer. I don't know what the Wanxiang auction house's principles are, but aren't you afraid that the world will be disappointed?" Lin Xian's every word was heartbreaking, and his voice was like thunder, resounding in all directions. Today's matter was too much, and he felt angry just thinking about it. He was the one who bought the item, but the seller and the martial artist who killed and robbed him teamed up to bully him. Such shameless actions could only be solved by killing and spilling blood. Hearing this, the crowd fell silent because what Lin Xian said was the truth, and there was no reason to refute it. The old man in the golden robe and the martial artist behind him were so angry that they trembled. Their faces darkened, and they wanted to vomit blood. Shameful, too shameful. They were being lectured by a junior, but they couldn't fight back. This feeling made them go crazy. Elder Jean, what are you waiting for? Back off. Suddenly, a delicate voice was heard. Then the void rippled, and a beautiful figure appeared. It was a beautiful woman in a palace dress, but she looked a little cold. She glanced at Elder Jean and said coldly, "What are you waiting for? Back off." Elder Jean, who was originally arrogant, trembled when he saw that gaze, and he quickly lowered his head. "I'll take my men and leave now." Then he waved his hand and led the group of martial artists back into the Wanxiang auction house. Seeing that Elder Jean and the rest had left, the beautiful woman in the palace dress smiled at Lin Xian. "Elder Jean and the rest were in the wrong. I hope you can forgive them." Lin Xian nodded slightly, judging from Elder Jean and the rest's attitude. The beautiful woman in the palace dress was definitely a high-ranking member of the auction house. Moreover, from the aura that flowed out of her body, her strength was definitely far beyond Elder Jin's. Lin Xian didn't want to go against the Wanxiang auction house. He just wanted an explanation. Now that the Wanxiang auction house had apologized, he naturally wouldn't pursue the matter. Then the woman in the palace dress left, and the entire Wanxiang auction house also left, no longer caring about the outside world. "Brother Xian, what do we do now?" Wang Li asked. Chapter 8:24. "Let's return to the courtyard first," Lin Xian said. Although the Lone Star Sword was already in his hands, he didn't know who bought the Phoenix Blood Scarlet Gold. He had to find out. Now that the auction had just ended, it was a good time to find out. Moreover, those people hadn't gone far. Once they decided to find out, they could make a move. Otherwise, when those people left, it would be very difficult to find out. Originally, Lin Xian had the Lone Star Sword, so he would be in more danger if he stayed in Wind-Seeking City for one more day. However, for the Phoenix Blood Scarlet Gold, he had no choice but to take such a risk. "How about this, Dongfang? You take your people and leave first. I'll stay here for a while and return to the academy when I have news." "Brother Xian, we won't leave," Wang Li and the others said with a firm gaze. "No, let's leave quickly. The Lone Star Sword's involvement is too great. Who knows what kind of terrifying person will appear in the future? It's too dangerous for you guys to stay here. Moreover, it's convenient for me to move alone. Even if I can't beat them, they can forget about keeping me here." Lin Xian had boundless confidence. He had the Earth Tier movement technique and the mysterious Jade platform. Even if the other party was strong, he could still leave calmly. After knowing Lin Xian's life-saving methods, these people agreed to return to the academy first. Yu Fei went out to scout for information. Lin Xian hid in Wind-Seeking City, and Dongfeng Xiong and Wang Li brought 50 Dragon Sword Pavilion disciples back to the academy overnight. 50 venerables were indeed a powerful force. Even Lin Xian was very tempted, but this matter was too dangerous. The appearance of a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword would probably attract some terrifying warriors. If the Dragon Sword Pavilion disciples were injured in the battle, it would be a great loss to him. These people were all geniuses with extraordinary talent. At this moment, they hadn't fully matured, so he didn't want them to take the risk. Moreover, it was indeed much more convenient for him to move alone. Firstly, he had the Earth Tier movement technique. Even a third-layer venerable wouldn't be his match in terms of speed. Furthermore, He had the heaven-changing art, a unique concealment method. If he wanted to leave, very few people could stop him. As for the blood mark in his body, it had already been destroyed by the dragon sword spirit. At night, Lin Xian sat cross-legged in the courtyard, silently cultivating. These few days there had been many battles. It could be said that it was very dangerous. The number of venerables he had killed in the past few days was more than the total number of venerables he had killed in the past few days. Although it was dangerous, the benefits were also great. His blood sword slaughter inheritance had successfully broken through to the second level. Why should I join the Wanxiang auction? After hearing Lin Xian's words, the middle-aged man laughed. His laughter was filled with great confidence. Lin Gongzi, you may not know this, but the Wanxiang auction is not only what you see on the surface. I can't tell you the details, but I can reveal a little to you. If you join us, you won't lose out. What you have now will be 10 times more than what you have now. This is a precious opportunity. I hope you won't miss it. Let me think about it. Lin Xian said calmly. If there's nothing else, please leave. I want to cultivate. Lin Xian's voice was very calm, but the rejection in his voice was very obvious. The middle-aged man's pupils shrank, revealing a look of disbelief. However, as an important person in the auction, he still had the ability to maintain his composure. Soon, the middle-aged man regained his composure. He said in a deep voice, "Now that you have a half-Earth ranked artifact, you must be in trouble. If you join us, I can guarantee that your troubles will disappear in an instant." It had to be said that this was a very tempting offer. After all, Lin Xian was facing a very dangerous situation. If he was not careful, he would lose his life. But now, the middle-aged man was offering to protect his safety. It was a direct hit to Lin Xian's weakness. If it was anyone else, they would have agreed immediately. But Lin Xian was still unmoved. He had his own plans, and he already had his own force. He would not join another force. Therefore, when he heard the tempting offer, he was expressionless. My answer is the same as before. Let me think about it. If I have an idea, I will look for you. Lin Xian's voice was calm. Chapter 8:25. Oh, young hero Lin, you have to think about it. After all, it's very dangerous to have a half-Earth rank artifact. Our Wanxiang auction doesn't want to see a genius like young hero Lin fall. Seeing that Lin Xian had rejected him twice, the middle-aged man's eyes turned gloomy and his voice carried a hint of coldness. After saying that, he waved his sleeve and disappeared from the courtyard. The moonlight was still there and a gentle breeze was blowing. Only the sound of leaves rustling could be heard. Lin Xian closed his eyes and entered into a state of cultivation again. Compared to the quiet courtyard, Wind-Seeking City was not as quiet. The atmosphere in the city was tense, and undercurrents were surging. Countless experts and families were secretly investigating, trying to find out more about Lin Xian. At the same time, many families joined forces and temporarily sealed off the entire Wind-Seeking City, intending to forcefully search the place. There was no other way. The temptation of a half-Earth rank artifact was too great. That kind of artifact was extremely rare. If one could obtain it, it would definitely increase one's strength by a few folds. The Huang family, Lung family, and other local families had the greatest advantage. They mobilized a large number of people to search the entire Wind-Seeking City. Other experts also mobilized people from all over the blood field and rushed into Wind-Seeking City. They all knew that Lin Xian had not left and was still in Wind-Seeking City. At the same time, the Yan family received the news that their disciple had been killed in Wind-Seeking City. They were extremely exposed and quickly sent a team to capture the murderer. Of course, the Lone Star Sword was also their target. Countless undercurrents surged, and the entire Wind-Seeking City became a terrifying and dangerous place. At the same time, another shocking incident occurred in Wind-Seeking City. A tall man with golden light shining all over his body stood in the air like a golden giant. His gaze was cold, and his cold voice spread out like thunder. "Who is Lin Xian? Come out and die." How can we let a nameless kid take a peerless treasure like the Lone Star Sword? Don't think that killing a Yen family disciple is a big deal. In my opinion, you are still not qualified to take the Lone Star Sword. The voice was extremely arrogant and resounded through the sky like thunder. He did not put Lin Xian in his eyes at all. "Lin Xian, hand over the Lone Star Sword, and I'll spare your life." In the sky, a golden figure roared. His terrifying voice was like thunder, spreading in all directions. Everyone was shocked and raised their heads to look at the sky. Who is this person? How arrogant! Did he not know how powerful Lin Xian was? That's the powerful existence that killed the genius of the Yen clan. It's actually him, Golden Sword Huang Jinsheng. Someone cried out in alarm. "What? Gold Sword?" Hearing this, many people sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder he was so arrogant and dared to challenge Lin Xian. It was Huang Jinsheng. Who is Huang Jinsheng? Is it very powerful? Someone asked in confusion. Of course he's powerful. He's a second-level venerated realm cultivator, and he's said to be unrivaled among second-level venerated realm cultivators. He's extremely powerful. It's said that even ordinary third-level honorables might not be his match. What? So powerful! When those people heard this, their hearts trembled. An invincible second-level honorables who could contend against third-level honorables. Every piece of news was enough to show how powerful the figure in the sky was. He was definitely a very powerful opponent. Not only that, it's said that he comprehended a metal-type sword soul. His attack power is extremely powerful, and his battle prowess is heaven-defying. Someone said another shocking piece of news. It seems like Lin Xian is in danger this time. Someone sighed. Yeah, Huang Jinsheng is really too powerful. He's much stronger than the 3 martial artists from the Yen clan. They're not even on the same level. I guess that Lin Xian definitely won't come out. After all, he might have already left after getting the Lone Star Sword. Who would be stupid enough to appear at this juncture? Although Huang Jinsheng is powerful, he can't do anything if Lin Xian doesn't appear. In the sky, Huang Jinsheng also knew this. He snorted and said disdainfully, "I didn't expect the Lone Star Sword, a half-Earth class treasure, to fall into the hands of a coward. How sad." His voice was extremely arrogant. He didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. The surrounding people sighed. Although the other party's words were harsh and he wanted to provoke Lin Xian into coming out, it didn't matter if he was insulted at this juncture, as long as he could protect the Lone Star Sword. That was what most people thought. However, it wasn't Lin Xian's opinion. He looked at the sky, and his eyes were filled with a strong, murderous intent. In Lin Xian's life, regardless of whether his opponent was strong or not, he had never been weak. There was nothing to say about such an insult. Only by fighting and killing the other party could he prove himself. Moreover, as a martial artist, he wasn't afraid of a fight. In the next moment, Lin Xian carried the Lone Star Sword on his back and rushed into the sky in a flash. Buzz. The void rippled, and he appeared in the sky. Lin Xian's appearance caused a huge commotion. Countless people looked up at the sky and were shocked. They didn't expect Lin Xian to really come out. Could it be that he was confident in defeating Huang Jinsheng? "You're Lin Xian?" At that moment, Huang Jinsheng also looked at the figure in the sky. "You haven't even seen me, and you're already clamoring to kill me. Don't you think you're too arrogant?" Lin Xian's eyes were dark, and his voice was cold. "Lone Star Sword. It's really you. You're Lin Xian." Huang Jinsheng didn't care about Lin Xian's cold gaze. Instead, he stared at the quaint long sword on his back. He laughed loudly and said, "Kid, you really can't keep your cool. A mere provocation has led you out. All right, let me kill you with my own hands. You're not worthy of the Lone Star Sword." Hearing Huang Jinsheng's arrogant words, Lin Xian also laughed. "In other words, there's no grudge between us. You want to kill me because you want to take the Lone Star Sword for yourself? That's right. Do I need a reason to kill you?" Huang Jinsheng was extremely domineering. "Killing someone like you is no different from stepping on an ant. If you want to live, I can give you a chance. Kneel down obediently and hand over the Lone Star Sword with both hands. From then on, you'll be my servant. I might spare your life. Servant, kneel down." Ha ha. Lin Xian looked up to the sky and laughed. His black hair fluttered in the wind like a demon. In the next moment, his laughter suddenly stopped. A cold sword light shone from his eyes. Do you have any last words?" Lin Xian's voice was cold. Hearing this, the crowd below was shocked. Huang Jinsheng was extremely arrogant and domineering. He didn't take Lin Xian seriously at all. He didn't even need a reason to kill him. Lin Xian exceeded everyone's expectations. Not only did he offer himself, his arrogant attitude was even more domineering than Huang Jinsheng's. Last words? Huang Jinsheng was stunned. Then he sneered disdainfully as if he had heard something funny. Perhaps he won't even have the chance to draw his sword under this heaven-shocking aura. Someone sneered. Huang Jinsheng naturally saw the scene as well. He laughed disdainfully and said, "I really don't know if you're an idiot or just overconfident. You actually didn't use the Lone Star Sword. If that's the case, then go to hell." At the end of his speech, the golden fist shone even brighter. It was like a sun crashing into the ground from the void. Huang Jinsheng looked down at Lin Xian with disdain in his eyes. If the other party had used the Lone Star Sword, there might have been a chance for him to resist. However, it seemed that the other party was stupid and did not even use the Lone Star Sword. He was not interested in such an opponent at all. However, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. "I don't need the Lone Star Sword to kill you." He let out a long roar, and the blood in his body surged. The spiritual power in his body circulated rapidly, and a terrifying power shot up into the sky. Lin Xian swung his fist and punched out. It was also a golden light that condensed into a golden fist that met the attack head-on. However, the difference between his fist and his opponent's was that his fist was made up of golden lightning. It was extremely masculine and filled with violent energy. What? Is he really going to fight with his bare hands? And he's going to fight with his fist? Is this guy crazy? Does he think that his physical body can resist the giant's shadow? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Huang Jinsheng sneered disdainfully when he saw this. What an idiot! How dare he fight with his fist? I really don't understand how the Lone Star Sword ended up in the hands of an idiot like you. Lin Xian did not answer because the two fists had already collided. The scene was very strange. The golden giant's fist was as heavy as a mountain and crushed the void. On the other hand, it was a fist the size of an ordinary person. No matter how one looked at it, the two of them were not on the same level. To be honest, no one was optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. They all thought that he would turn into a pile of flesh and blood under this punch. However, in the next moment, the two fists collided with a terrifying sound. A blazing light flashed and swept in all directions. The entire space collapsed horribly. Rumble! A thunderous sound was heard in the void, and the sky was filled with violent light. Everyone looked up at the sky and were all dumbfounded. That was because in this shocking collision, the huge golden giant's shadow began to collapse. First, the mountain-like fist shattered with a boom, turning into countless rays of light that scattered in the void. Then the entire arm began to disintegrate. In the end, the golden giant's shadow roared at the sky and let out a painful roar. He struggled with all his might to resist, but he was powerless. In the end, he could not escape the fate of collapsing. With just one punch, the golden giant's shadow collapsed and disappeared. In the void, Huang Jinsheng kept retreating like a bolt of lightning. A stream of bright red blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. On the other hand, Lin Xian stood in the void like a king. Kill Lin Xian? Steal the Lone Star sword? Lin Xian sneered. In his opinion, the other party was just a clown that was not worth mentioning. The crowd below was even more shocked. Countless people's hearts were beating wildly in disbelief. Lin Xian was too powerful. He could actually injure Huang Jinsheng with one punch. No wonder he dared to come out. It turned out that he had the strength to fight against Huang Jinsheng. Everyone's eyelids twitched. They realized that the reason Lin Xian came out was not because he was provoked or because he wanted to die, but because he had the strength to fight against the other party. He could even suppress the other party. Very well. You've successfully angered me. Huang Jinsheng's face darkened. Next, I'll make sure you die a horrible death. Cut the crap. Since the moment you set your eyes on the Lone Star sword, your fate has been sealed. Lin Xian's voice was icy cold. Brat, you're too arrogant. I admit that you have some strength, but you have no chance of winning against my martial spirit. My martial spirit is a metal elemental martial spirit. Its attack is extremely powerful and can even kill a third-layer martial highness. What do you have to compete with me? Huang Jinsheng's expression was hideous. He let out a furious roar and quickly summoned his martial spirit. In the next instant, a long sword appeared in front of him. It was 10 feet long and entirely golden in color, emitting a terrifying aura. The crowd held their breaths as their hearts trembled. It was too terrifying. The aura alone was enough to slice their bodies and souls apart. Chapter 8:27. Platinum Longsword. Huang Jinsheng's martial soul is terrifying. The sword is the king of weapons, and the metal element is one of the strongest offensive attributes. The combination of the two is extremely sharp. No wonder Huang Jinsheng could kill a third-rank honorable martial artist. It seems like the rumors are true. Lin Xian is in danger. Lin Xian was strong, but he was still inferior to Huang Jinsheng's platinum longsword martial soul. Looking at the terrifying platinum longsword in the sky, Lin Xian's lips curled into a smile, and a look of disdain flashed across his eyes. Competing in offense? He sneered in his heart. What martial soul could compare to the great dragon sword soul? In terms of offense, if the great dragon sword soul claimed to be number one, no one would dare to claim to be number two. Looking at Huang Jinsheng's arrogant face, Lin Xian said indifferently, I'm curious. What will your expression be when the platinum longsword that you are so proud of breaks? Humph, stop bragging. You can't possibly withstand my martial soul. Huang Jinsheng had absolute confidence. His martial soul had contributed a lot to him and was extremely powerful. He did not believe that Lin Xian could withstand his martial soul's attack. Below, the crowd was shocked when they heard Lin Xian's words. How can the platinum longsword break, even with the Lone Star sword? He can't do it. Bulsh *T. He must be Bulsh *Ting. How can he defeat his opponent's metal element martial soul? The crowd shook their heads in disbelief. However, in the next moment, they were stunned. A blood-red longsword appeared in Lin Xian's hand. It exuded a terrifying spiritual energy and a destructive aura. The terrifying aura was even more terrifying than Huang Jinsheng's platinum longsword martial soul. This sword contained the inheritance of the blood-red killing sword and the power of the great dragon sword soul. It was extremely sharp. The two of them were too terrifying. The crowd below trembled. The strength of the two of them had surpassed that of an ordinary second-rank honorable martial artist. Die, brat. Huang Jinsheng's face changed when he felt the terrifying aura from his opponent's blood sword. He was shocked and did not hesitate to attack. In the sky, the platinum longsword martial spirit waved, causing the clouds in the sky to collapse. It was as if the heavens and earth were being split apart. The scene was extremely terrifying. At the same time, Lin Xian also swung his blood-red sword and slashed out. The earth trembled, and the blood sea surged. The entire wind-seeking city seemed to be shaking nonstop. The earth-shattering collision almost sent the entire city flying. The violent sword chi connected the heavens and the earth, sweeping in all directions. After a long time, the world finally regained its tranquility. Everyone was shocked and raised their heads to look. In the sky, Huang Jinsheng's hair was disheveled, and his body was covered in blood. In front of him, the platinum longsword martial spirit was dim, and there were even cracks on it. What? Huang Jinsheng was defeated? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Could it be that Lin Xian was so strong that even the powerful Huang Jinsheng was no match for him? Impossible! This is impossible! How could you possibly break my platinum longsword martial spirit? Huang Jinsheng yelled madly, his face filled with disbelief. In the past, as long as he used his martial spirit, no matter how strong the enemy was, he could kill them. However, this time, the martial spirit attack that he was so proud of had failed and was almost shattered by his opponent. He could not accept it at that moment. Huang Jinsheng's body was covered in wounds, and his face was filled with disbelief. On the opposite side, Lin Xian held the sword of slaughter in his hand and walked toward him step by step. Previously, I was curious about your expression after being defeated, but now it seems that it is indeed ugly. Huang Jinsheng trembled with anger, but there was nothing he could do. He had no choice. He had already used his strongest martial spirit, but it did not hurt his opponent at all. This meant that his opponent's strength was completely above his. It seemed that he had miscalculated this time. I admit that you are very strong. I was wrong before. I don't want the Lone Star sword anymore. Hearing this, the crowd below was shocked. The arrogant Huang Jinsheng had actually lowered his head and spoke in such a humble manner. Was this still the same Huang Jinsheng who would kill anyone he disagreed with? It seemed that Lin Xian was indeed powerful to be able to subdue such a demon king. You don't want it anymore? Lin Xian laughed. What do you think this is? Playing house? You think you can just give it up like that? He shook his head with a cold smile. You fight whenever you want, kill whenever you want, and don't want it anymore. Have you considered my feelings? I have no grudge against you. We don't even know each other. However, as soon as you entered Windy City, you insulted me in front of everyone. Have you considered my dignity? When I appeared, you wanted to kill me without saying anything. You wanted to take the Lone Star sword for yourself. Have you considered my feelings? If I wasn't stronger than you, I'm afraid I would have been killed by you. Now that you can't defeat me, you think you can escape unscathed by saying that you don't want it anymore? Is there anything so simple in this world? Lin Xian laughed coldly and looked at Huang Jinsheng as if he was looking at an idiot. Then what do you want? Huang Jinsheng clenched his teeth and said while holding his chest, I've said it before. Since the moment you set your eyes on the Lone Star sword, your fate has been decided. There's only one outcome for you, and that's death. Chapter 8:28. Moreover, so what if the Golden Palace was powerful? Lin Xian was not someone who was afraid of death. What was the purpose of practicing martial arts? Other than pursuing a longer lifespan and enjoying wealth and power, it was to be free and unfettered in the martial world. Being free and unrestrained was what Lin Xian yearned for. If he was timid and overcautious in everything he did, what was the point of practicing martial arts? In his opinion, one's martial arts strength was used to break free from all shackles. It was the most fundamental guarantee of being free and unfettered in the world, and he too was advancing step by step towards the goal of his dream. Lin Xian did not leave after killing Huang Jinsheng. He heard the crowd's conversation and found out that there were some martial artists behind Huang Jinsheng. He thought that they would come to seek revenge soon. Therefore, in order to not have any worries, he planned to get rid of them all at once. With a wave of his sleeve, Lin Xian put away the other party's storage ring. Then, the headless corpse exploded, forming a bloody mist that filled the sky. Under the guidance of Lin Xian's finger, spiritual qi and blood quickly rolled in the bloody mist, forming a pavilion in the air. The entire pavilion was red like blood jade. It was crystal clear and floated in the air. It was no different from a real palace. Transformation. When the crowd below saw this, they were shocked again. Martial artists of the three spirit realms would be able to use this kind of technique to transform. They could only use it in martial arts techniques. Only venerable ones could maintain the transformation for a long time. This was because only at this level could one freely control the spiritual qi between heaven and earth. However, ordinary venerable ones would not use this method casually because to maintain the transformation required a huge amount of spiritual qi and pure spiritual power. Although venerable ones could mobilize the spiritual qi of heaven and earth without limit, there was also a problem of conversion rate. That was the degree of utilization of spiritual qi. This problem was determined by the cultivation method. Almost none of the martial artists below the third heaven of the venerable realm dared to use this transformation technique during normal times, let alone when they were about to face a fierce battle. When Lin Xian heard the shock from below, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. He had long since mastered this technique, but he was only using it now. Moreover, when he used this method, he did not have to worry about the conversion of spiritual energy like other martial artists. That was because the longevity incantation in his body could solve all these problems very well. His cultivation and transformation speed was definitely far superior to those of the same level. Even Lin Xian had yet to figure out what level of cultivation method the art of longevity was. In a flash, he walked toward the blood-colored palace and quickly entered it. The interior was no different from a real palace. Lin Xian slowly sat down, took out a cup of spirit wine from his storage ring, and slowly tasted it. Then he rummaged through Huang Jinsheng's ring of holding and sorted out his spoils of war. What is this Lin Xian doing? After killing Huang Jinsheng, he's still not leaving. Could it be that he's not afraid of death? From the looks of it, could it be that he's waiting for the others from the Golden Palace to come? Someone was bewildered. Below, no one left. They were all watching silently. They wanted to know how Lin Xian was going to deal with the wrath of the Golden Palace. Not long after, the void trembled, and a long howl rolled over like the waves of the sea. Accompanying it was a monstrous and terrifying aura. The void fluctuated, and spiritual energy surged over like the waves of the sea. What's that? Countless people were shocked and looked up at the sky. At this moment, in the sky, countless black shadows were moving quickly like ghosts. They joined together and floated over like dark clouds. Demonic beasts, someone exclaimed, because they realized that the black shadows were huge, iron-clawed eagles. On top of the iron-clawed eagles stood countless figures, each of them carrying a strong, murderous aura. In an instant, the iron-clawed eagles filled the sky and arrived near the blood-colored palace. At the forefront was a goshawk that was dozens of feet long. Its feathers were like steel, shining with a metallic luster. On the back of the demonic beast was a bald martial artist. His eyes were fierce, and his aura was powerful. He quickly sensed his surroundings, and then his face turned ugly. "Who dares to kill the disciples of the Golden Palace? Come out and die." His voice was loud and clear, like the roar of a ferocious beast. It spread clearly in all directions. "The Golden Palace, the people from the Golden Palace are here." Countless people were shocked. They did not expect the other party to arrive so quickly. The void was silent, and no one answered the bald man's question. "Humph! How dare you kill the disciples of the Golden Palace? Even if you run to the ends of the earth, you won't be able to escape death." The bald man sneered and stretched out his arm. Golden light flickered and formed a dragon that rushed down quickly. Dragon hand! In the next moment, a martial artist was surrounded by the golden dragon and carried into the sky. "Speak! Who killed the disciples of the Golden Palace?" The bald man's face was ferocious as he stared at the innocent martial artist. The martial artist was just an ordinary spectator. His cultivation had not reached the honorable realm, and he could not speak in front of the powerful aura of an honorable realm martial artist. However, in the bald man's eyes, he was looking down on the Golden Palace and harboring a criminal. "If you don't speak, you'll die." The bald man sneered and exerted force in his palm. Suddenly, the golden dragon roared and tore the innocent martial artist to pieces. Blood mist drifted, and the pungent smell of blood filled the air. Seeing this, the martial artists below felt their scalps go numb. They did not dare to stay any longer and fled into the distance. Demon! The people from the Golden Palace were demons. They did not need any reason to kill. As long as they were in a bad mood, they could kill at will. No one dared to stay any longer because they might die if they were not careful. However, the bald man was determined to find out who the culprit was. How could he let these people go? The golden dragon in his hand roared again and swooped down. In an instant, it brought up two martial artists. "I'll give you a chance. Tell me who the culprit is. If you don't speak, you'll die." One of them was shocked by the murderous aura and could not speak. The other shouted crazily, "I'll speak, I'll speak." "The culprit is Lin Xian. He's in the Blood Palace. I'm done. Can you let me go now?" The martial artist gasped for breath. "Lin Xian." The bald man looked around and saw the Blood Palace not far away. Suddenly, his face turned ferocious. "Let you go? How is that possible? You saw the disciples of the Golden Palace being killed. You deserve to die." The bald man did not listen to reason. He exerted force in his palm and instantly crushed the two martial artists. Bloody and arrogant, these people did not listen to reason at all. There was only killing in their eyes. "Lin Xian, right? How dare you kill the people of the Golden Palace? I'll let you know what it means to live a life worse than death." The bald man looked at the Blood Palace and let out a sharp roar. "Lin Xian, come out and die." The voice was terrifying. It turned into a physical attack and rushed forward. Chapter 8:29. The void trembled like boiling water. The terrifying sound waves were like roaring thunder as they rushed towards the blood-colored palace. Boom! There was a deep sound, and the entire palace shook as if it was about to split open. However, in the next moment, the Crimson Palace quickly stabilized and emitted a crimson light. A crimson sword chi quickly condensed and slashed forward. In an instant, the crimson sword chi cut the sound waves in half. "You dare to resist?" The bald man's face turned gloomy. He was now sure that the person in the Crimson Palace was the murderer. Rush in and bring the murderer out. I want to kill him slice by slice. The bald man waved his hand. Immediately, countless goshawks behind him spread their wings and turned into streaks of black shadows that rushed forward. On the backs of the goshawks, there were martial artists with ferocious faces. Their bodies emitted a murderous aura. The long swords in their hands were bright as they slashed forward. In an instant, countless black shadows surrounded the Crimson Palace. However, in the next moment, a golden figure came from the palace. It was like a golden lightning bolt. Then there was a sharp cry that pierced through heaven and earth. Soon, the goshawks were all trembling in fear, as if they had encountered something terrifying. Some of the goshawks did not even dare to stay in the air and hurriedly landed on the ground. What's going on? Damned beast, stop right there. In an instant, all kinds of curses were heard, and the entire sky was in chaos. Just as these people were panicking, two golden wings appeared in the void and spread out. The golden wings were hundreds of feet long. On the wings, every feather was crystal clear. They were like golden divine, swords that flew out quickly. 108,000 swords. In the next moment, the sky was filled with dazzling golden sword radiance. It moved in all directions and quickly enveloped the martial artists of the Golden Palace. Suddenly, countless screams were heard. The goshawks and the martial artists on them were all attacked. Countless sword radiance flew and pierced through heaven and earth. The demonic beasts and the martial artists of the Golden Palace were staring at the ground as they trembled. Blood flowed and dyed the sky red. Then it was summoned by a strange power and entered the Crimson Palace. The entire Crimson Palace was crystal clear and looked demonic. Golden-feathered godly eagle. What a terrifying means. In the distance, the martial artists were shocked. They thought that the Golden Hall would kill Lin Xian mercilessly, but they didn't expect that Lin Xian would deal such a heavy blow to his opponent. In the void, the huge golden wings disappeared and turned into the figure of the golden-feathered divine eagle. The sky became clear again. However, the warriors of the Golden Palace were still trembling. None of them dared to charge forward. The bald man's pupils constricted as well. He was so angry that his entire body trembled. In just an instant, half of the people he had brought with him had been lost. This was something he could not accept. How dare you kill a member of the Golden Palace in front of us? I will let you know the consequences of offending the Golden Palace. The bald man's face was ferocious, like a devil. His body was full of killing intent that shot up into the sky. So domineering. So arrogant. A steady voice resounded from the void of space. Aren't you going to ask why I want to kill Huang Jinsheng? I don't need to know. I only know that anyone who dares to kill the people of the Golden Palace will end up in a miserable state. The bald man's face was ferocious, as expected of jackals of the same tribe. You are all equally shameless and unreasonable. Lin Xian sneered. If that's the case, let's just call it the Shameless Palace. Brat, how dare you insult the Golden Palace? You are dead meat. The bald man's face darkened. He swore that he would capture the person inside and pull out his bones and bones. He would then refine his soul so that he would never be reincarnated. You are the ones who are courting death. Lin Xian snorted. The younger generation is unreasonable. You want to kill and rob. Now, the older generation is even more shameless. I don't care about the Golden Palace. As long as you dare to take a step into the palace, you will never be able to return. Lin Xian's voice was cold. It carried a monstrous killing intent that spread out in all directions. He was really angry. The other party was so arrogant and had surrounded him without any scruples. Did they really think that he was easy to bully? He would let these people know how miserable the consequences of bullying him were. In the void, the bald man roared and merged with the demonic beast under his feet. He quickly rushed toward the Crimson Palace. This time, he was going to kill the person inside personally. The bald man turned into a ray of light and rushed toward the Crimson Palace like a bolt of lightning. In the next moment, he disappeared into the Crimson Palace. Soon, he saw a young man in a blue shirt who was casually sitting there with a long sword on his back. "It's a young brat?" The bald man's heart trembled. He did not expect that the person who killed so many martial artists from the Golden Palace was only a young man. In the next moment, he suppressed the shock in his heart. So what if he was young? There was only one outcome for those who dared to kill the people from the Golden Palace, and that was death. "Die, brat." The bald man stretched out his palm. A golden dragon attached to his arm and roared out. Dragon Claw. It was a top spiritual level cultivation skill that was said to be able to kill everything. It was extremely terrifying. In the void, the 3 flood dragons circled each other, roaring and roaring as they charged towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a look of disdain appeared in his eyes. In the next moment, he stretched out his palm as well. Just a dragon. In front of a real dragon. It is nothing. Let me show you the real Dragon Claw. The crimson spiritual chi surged and quickly formed a huge dragon claw that slammed forward. In an instant, the void was torn apart. The terrifying crimson dragon claw was like a ferocious beast that suppressed the surroundings. The bald man's pupils shrank. He felt a strong sense of danger from Lin Xian. It was a feeling that he had not felt for many years. Impossible. He's just a young brat. How can he be a threat to me? Illusion. It must be an illusion. The bald man removed all distracting thoughts from his mind and urged the 3 golden dragons in the air to move. In the next moment, the golden dragons collided with the huge crimson dragon claw. Rumble, crack, crack. In an instant, the 3 golden dragons wailed, and their bodies were torn into several pieces. What? This is impossible. The bald man was shocked, and his eyelids twitched. He could not believe that Lin Xian could break his dragon claw in one move. Damn it, who is this brat? The bald man was uneasy. He realized that Lin Xian was not as simple as he had imagined. Brat, who are you? Don't you think it's too late to ask now? Lin Xian sneered. Lin Xian wanted to kill him arrogantly and ruthlessly. Now that he was afraid, he remembered to ask about his identity. How shameless! Don't be so arrogant, the bald man said coldly. I don't care who you are. I will kill you today. With a long roar, light bloomed on his body, and the shadow of a golden giant quickly condensed. This situation was exactly the same as when Huang Jinsheng used his cultivation technique. However, with the bald man using it now, the power was even stronger. In the void, golden light shone. It was incomparably majestic and exuded a terrifying aura. The golden giant seemed to have merged with the bald man to form a real ancient giant. Chapter 830. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. He had just seen this cultivation technique in Huang Jinsheng's storage ring. This cultivation technique was called Golden Giant Avatar. It used one's own spiritual energy and the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form a huge golden giant avatar to increase one's combat strength. When one cultivated it to a high level, one could completely merge with the golden giant avatar to form a real golden giant. One could also condense multiple golden giant avatars to besiege the enemy. It was extremely useful. Now, it seemed that the bald man had used the first method to merge with the golden giant. Die, brat. With a roar, The bald man was like a real giant. His body was tall and sturdy, shining with golden light. On his arms, there were two dragons that were quickly coiling around, looking extremely ferocious. He threw out a punch. With a flash of golden light, a golden dragon flew out. It was like a real dragon. It let out a dragon's roar and quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. Golden giant avatar. Lin Xian sneered and quickly circulated his spiritual energy. He used the great dragon sword soul to quickly simulate this martial art. Boom! The void fluctuated and Lin Xian's body shone with a bloody light. In an instant, a huge bloody giant was formed. It roared to the sky, and the sound shook the 9 heavens. Humph, it's just a form. You don't know how powerful the golden giant avatar is. When the bald man saw that Lin Xian was using a similar move to him, he sneered. The core of martial arts was not the appearance but the real inner cultivation method. Only by mastering the origin of martial arts could one bring out the full potential of martial arts. Lin Xian was just a nameless kid. How could he master the Golden Palace's unique skill? Therefore, the bald man was disdainful of Lin Xian's actions. The bloody giant roared ferociously, and 2 bloody dragon heads condensed on its huge fists. It quickly punched forward. The 2 giants fought, and the scene was extremely terrifying. The bald man had a look of disdain before, but after coming into contact with Lin Xian, he was terrified. Not only was Lin Xian's appearance similar to his, even his terrifying strength was the same. Compared to his golden giant, Lin Xian's bloody giant was even more terrifying. Impossible! How could he have such powerful combat strength? The bald man was shocked, disbelief written all over his face. He had cultivated for dozens of years before he could fuse with the golden giant. However, the other party was actually not inferior to him in terms of strength. This was unacceptable to him. Ka, 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 the blood-colored giant roared, suddenly erupting with a powerful battle prowess, tearing the golden giant in half from the middle. The bald man didn't even have time to shout before he was torn apart along with the huge golden giant. His entire body was torn apart and turned into a bloody mist. Even if he died, he didn't believe that the other party could kill him so easily. Little did he know that the great dragon sword spirit that Lin Xian had mastered was the most powerful saint art in the world. The martial arts that were simulated with it were several times more powerful than the original martial arts. They were not on the same level at all. Without any surprise, the bald man was killed. Outside the palace, everyone held their breaths and waited anxiously. They only felt 2 terrifying auras erupting from the palace, as if they were going to tear the world apart. However, they did not know the specifics. Moreover, no one dared to enter. Everyone could only wait outside for the final result. However, before long, the terrifying aura within the palace disappeared. The blood-red palace became extremely calm, as if it was dead silent. What's the result? Could it be that Lin Xian was killed? Looking at the silent blood-red palace, the crowd couldn't help but wonder. Humph, do you even need to think about it? Of course, that little thief was killed. Who can defeat our Golden Palace? The remaining Golden Palace martial artists sneered, full of confidence. Their leader, the bald man, was extremely powerful. Moreover, he could merge with the golden giant. His battle prowess was heaven-defying, and killing a 3rd-level honorable martial artist was a piece of cake, let alone a nameless little thief. Just as everyone was discussing, a black shadow flew out from the entrance of the blood-red palace. "It's out!" everyone exclaimed and looked over carefully. However, in the next moment, countless exclamations were heard. The Golden Palace martial artists trembled and froze on the spot. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! The Golden Palace martial artists were shocked. Their expressions changed drastically as they shouted in disbelief. As for the surrounding martial artists, their eyelids were wide open, and their hearts were trembling. This was because the black shadow that came out was none other than a head. It was the bald man's head. The overbearing and arrogant Golden Palace martial artist had actually died. Moreover, the other party had only entered the blood-red palace for a short period of time. He had been killed in just a moment. This unforeseen event shocked everyone. The eyes of the head were filled with shock, fear, and unwillingness. It was a stark contrast to the overbearing and bloodthirsty bald man from before. In just an instant, the overbearing bald man had died. This shocked everyone, especially the Golden Palace martial artists. All of them were terrified as they looked at the blood-red palace in front of them with fear. They had originally come to kill the culprit, but now that their leader had died in advance, they didn't know what to do at that moment. In the next moment, the void fluctuated, and a huge blood-red giant appeared in the void. He roared into the sky and punched out with both fists. Two blood-red dragons roared out and instantly enveloped the remaining Golden Palace martial artists. Those martial artists didn't even have time to scream before they turned into pools of blood and merged with the blood-red palace. Lin Xian wasn't a bloodthirsty person, but these people had come to kill him. He would never show mercy to his enemies. In the next moment, the huge blood-red giant disappeared, and the void returned to normal. Only the blood-red palace remained floating. From the beginning to the end, Lin Xian hadn't come out of the palace. His powerful and fierce means had shocked everyone. However, there were also people who were worried because the Golden Palace was undoubtedly powerful. This time, they should have come from one of the 18 cities, the huge Axe City. This city was the closest to the heaven-seeking city, so they were the first to arrive. These people were probably only a part of the huge Axe City's strength. The real terrifying main force was still behind. When that force arrived, it could definitely destroy everything. When that time came, Lin Xian would definitely not be able to withstand it. Yes, not only the Golden Palace, but other martial artists will also come. After all, the temptation of the Lone Star Sword is incomparably strong. In the blood-red palace, Lin Xian sat cross-legged. He was studying the storage ring of the bald man. Other than the golden giant avatar, there was also a martial art called the Flood Dragon Hand, which was also a type of capturing martial art. Lin Xian quickly browsed through it and tried to use the great dragon sword soul. Soon, he mastered this martial art. After all, he didn't want to completely master it, but to comprehend it and use it for reference. He used his own great dragon sword soul to form a different version of the Flood Dragon Hand. He was like a huge sponge, greedily absorbing all kinds of martial arts. Chapter 831. If it were other martial artists, they would definitely not be able to do this. After all, a person's energy was limited. It was impossible to learn so much. Moreover, there were conflicts between martial artists, but Lin Xian could. He possessed the great dragon sword soul and could use it as a foundation to simulate and evolve other martial arts. To him, this was not a difficult task. Apart from these two martial arts, the blood sword inheritance broke through again and reached the third level. And after reaching the third level, apart from the power being much greater than before, he also obtained a martial art blood shadow clone kill, using blood chi to condense a blood clone and use it for a sneak attack in battle. It could be said to be incomparably strange. He silently cultivated and digested this new martial art, entering a cultivation state. Outside, everyone was shocked because they discovered that the Blood Palace did not show any signs of disappearing. Instead, it became even more resplendent and demonic, like a demon king's palace, shining with a scarlet light. They did not know that this was the reason why Lin Xian's blood sword inheritance broke through to the third level. What they knew was that Lin Xian was too arrogant and conceited. After killing so many people from the Golden Palace, he actually did not have the slightest intention of leaving. Perhaps other than him, no one dared to do so. Time slowly flowed. Suddenly, the sky boiled again. The void trembled as if 10,000 beasts were galloping. This time, the fluctuations were more violent and intense than before. A huge spirit boat rapidly traversed the void. Its speed was very fast, and it instantly rushed in the direction of the Blood Palace. The spirit boat was golden all over, as if it was made of gold, emitting a dazzling light. On the body of the boat, there were two huge axes that crossed each other, forming a strange pattern. On the spirit boat, there were densely packed martial artists. All of them were surging with killing intent, making one's heart tremble. Golden Palace. It's the Golden Palace's people from Giant Axe City. Below, when the crowd saw the huge golden spirit boat, they immediately exclaimed. It seemed that the Golden Palace was really angry. They actually sent a battle spirit boat. Indeed, the death of Huang Jinsheng and the bald man had finally angered the Golden Palace, so they sent a battle spirit boat and swore to capture the murderer. Countless people looked at the sky and swallowed their saliva. Their eyes filled with horror. They knew that this time Lin Xian was truly finished. Hundreds of martial artists stood on the gold spirit ship. Among them, the person at the front was a burly man with bronze skin. He was as mighty as an iron tower. On his back, he carried a huge golden battle axe, which was shining brightly. This burly man was the Vice City Lord of Great Axe City, Berserker. He was also the strongest leader on the spirit boat this time. This person's cultivation was at the peak of the second heaven honorable realm, and he could easily kill an ordinary third heaven honorable realm cultivator. Apart from the city lord of Great Axe City, almost no one was his opponent. As for the powerful city lord, it was said that he had already reached the third heavenly layer. However, it seemed that he did not come this time. Huang Zhan stood at the very front, looking at the blood-colored palace in the distance. His eyes, which were like bronze tombs, were filled with anger. As the deputy city lord of Great Axe City, he had never been as angry as he was today. His talented warriors and capable subordinates, as well as a group of warriors, had all been killed. This was a blatant provocation. No matter who it was, whoever killed the people of Golden Palace and Great Axe City would have to pay the price in blood. Like a huge golden mountain, the gold spirit ship carried a huge wave of air and quickly arrived in front of the blood-colored palace. The person inside, "Come out and accept your death." A terrifying voice rang out, carrying with it a towering rage. It was as if the god of thunder was punishing them, and it reverberated in all directions. However, the other party did not respond. No one walked out of the blood-colored palace, and it only quietly emitted a dazzling light. Not coming out, Huang Zhan was enraged. He sneered, "Don't think that you can escape from everything by hiding inside. I will make you come out on your knees obediently and willingly send yourself to death." Then he quickly ordered, "Prepare the gold shockwave and destroy the palace in front." Immediately, the subordinates behind him moved quickly. The surrounding people held their breaths and watched in silence. Their eyes were filled with fear. In the sky above, the huge gold spirit ship suddenly emitted a strong spiritual energy fluctuation. A huge cannon quickly formed and aimed at the blood-colored palace in front of them. In the next moment, the port of the cannon shone brightly. It quickly absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy and condensed into a round ball of light with a diameter of dozens of feet. On the ball of light, golden light shone and pulsated continuously, emitting a powerful destructive force. This force was too powerful. Just a trace of it was enough to make everyone tremble. In the next moment, the huge golden ball of light surged and formed a golden shockwave that shot forward. Boom! The void was instantly shattered, and endless spiritual energy was sucked dry. The golden light was like a pillar of heaven, and it quickly blasted towards the blood-colored palace. In the next moment, an earth-shattering sound rang out. Heaven and earth trembled, and the terrifying energy exploded. The void fell into chaos. Strong winds blew, and the dazzling light covered the entire sky. At this moment, it was as if the sun had exploded. The blazing light flashed, and everyone could not open their eyes because of it. There were even screams because some ancient martial art practitioners wanted to force themselves to look, but their eyes were pierced by the light. After a long time, the violent energy gradually disappeared. The dazzling light in the sky also dimmed and finally disappeared. Only then did everyone dare to open their eyes and look at the sky. Then they sucked in a breath of cold air. They realized that the blood-colored palace in the sky had been pierced, and a huge hole had appeared. The entire palace had been completely pierced, and it was almost split in half. Everyone was shocked and speechless for a long time. The golden light pillar was too terrifying. It had destroyed the blood-colored palace with just one blow. Before this, no one had been able to hurt the blood-colored palace at all. I wonder if Lin Xian is injured. Yeah, I haven't seen him until now. Could he have been killed? Countless people were puzzled and kept guessing. What they did not know was that Lin Xian was not injured, but was comprehending a new martial art. Therefore, he did not attack for a while. In the sky, on the huge golden spirit ship, the people of Golden Palace looked at the destroyed blood-colored palace and sneered. Those who dared to offend the people of Golden Palace would definitely be ruthlessly smashed into meat paste. However, the leading golden man, Berserk Warrior, frowned slightly because with his perception, he naturally knew that the other party's aura was still there. He snorted coldly and was about to give another order. This time, he would definitely smash the other party into meat paste. However, at this moment, a huge shadow was cast in the sky. It was like a dark cloud that shrouded the surroundings. A terrifying and violent energy rushed over quickly. It was as if the Demon King had awakened, and it carried a gloomy and cold aura. Who dares to kill a disciple of the Yen family? Come out and die. A cold voice rang out. It was like a sharp sword that pierced through the void. You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.